Welcome to the New Athens. You need to emerge from this COVID-1984 pandemic with the tools to create a new world. The New Athens, the blockchain think tank, brings you those tools to understand the chaos swirling around us and the forum to debate how a new generation will take control from the GoVidiots currently mismanaging our nation and our world with a breakaway civilization leaving us behind. Watch our Friday Night Lights live stream from the bunker on the New Athens YouTube channel for the best that is thought and said on the issues of the day. Ask not what the New Athens can do for you. Ask what you can do for the New Athens. If you like it, leave a like. If you like the content, please subscribe and share. I'm Lorenzo Mefsud, founder of the New Athens. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.
Good evening, and welcome to the New Athens here on this Friday, the 13th of November, for hashtag Las Meninas Redux. We have here tonight Dan Kolupski and Oliver Nelken, our producer. Dan is making a very wonderful portrait in oils live for us. We'll see it in time-lapse footage as we go through the evening. Dan's here. He's actually facing away from his subject, but we do have a Las Meninas mirroring effect. We'll show you the Velázquez later, but this is all coming out of. Also, echoes of Kaiser Wilhelm, Oliver in military attire with conquering electric guitar. This machine kills fascists, as Woody Guthrie would say. And Dan is giving. It was going to be an equestrian, but we decided to make it a sitting portrait as King and Emperor Olivus Magnus.
King Oliver, the famous 1930s jazz trombonist.
Duke Ellington. You need a title. Duke Ellington, Count Basie.
Yeah.
Yes.
King Oliver. Yeah, Count Basie.
General Oliver.
Yeah.
Well, you see,
general purpose Oliver.
The problem here, of course, is that Oliver's very much being depicted as a cavalier, and yet Oliver Cromwell was a roundhead. Is this warts and all? Dan, are we doing warts and all? Oliver Cromwell asked to be portrayed warts and all.
Oh, right.
That was where that phrase came from. He had this massive wart on his face, and he was depicted with it. I'll find it in a minute. But the world has turned upside down. As our trailer said, breakaway civilization is coalescing, leaving us behind. That is the Great Reset, which we examined Klaus Schwab's rollout of his globalist model of supranational governmental control.
What are you talking about?
Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum.
Klaus fucking Schwab.
Yeah. Oliver.
What did he say?
He said that we need to own nothing.
Yeah.
And
you will own nothing, and you will be happy. You will own nothing, and you will be happy.
Yes.
That's what Klaus Schwab is.
So he said that. We went through in detail his great reset rollout speech. He's come out of the woodwork, this sort of worm, to sap all of our energies and actually parasite on our labor, our intellectual property, our assets, to strip us of everything, even our own organs inside our bodies. And Britain, with the Great Body Snatch 2020, is the paradigm, is the guinea pig, it is lab rat for the asset stripping of our very souls and bodies. We've been dealing with this here on the New Athens podcast and taking you through some of the consequences of that. Today, we have President Trump in the courts trying to overturn the stolen election in the United States. Pompeo, the Secretary of State, said 2 nights ago, we'll be having a transition to a peaceful transition to a second Trump term. Oliver, do you think that's going to happen, or do you think it's wishful thinking?
Is Trump going to get into
is he going to going to win in the courts? Is he going to win the counts? The counts haven't come in yet in any of the 6 or so disputed states. Of course, Trump won Texas. He won Florida. He won Ohio. The normal swing states in the US presidential election. He won all of those outright.
He won all the normal swing states.
He won all the normal swing states. We get different swing states this time: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and North Carolina and Georgia. So these are not normally swing states. These are normally solidly red and blue states. Like the lake states, Wisconsin and Michigan normally go blue, and Georgia, Arizona, South Carolina go red in every election in recent decades. We have now this kind of held in abeyance moment. So what we were looking at last night was the Logan Act.
Oh, the Logan Act. Yeah. So
pretending to be the government when you're not the government.
Yeah. So as I understand it.
Yeah, take us through it.
Well, yeah. The first thing was I heard. I haven't researched the provenance of this fact. I heard that Trump won more votes than anyone's ever won before, apart from Biden, who's won even more than that this
from
year.
a basement.
Oh yeah, so
Trump's had rallies, 5 rallies a day, 8 hours a day across 5 different states a day.
So
Joe Biden's been in his basement all along.
Is it? Is the amount of votes that Trump has gathered?
Beat Obama in 2008.
Okay.
Beat himself last 4 years.
I mean, there are more human. The population has probably grown by a few percent.
Potentially, but probably not. People reaching voting age at 18. They've not lowered the voting age like they did in Scotland, for instance, for the referendum. So they're down to 16. So we've not had an expansion in that direction.
Oh.
I don't think we've particularly had a baby boom in the, what would it be, 18 years. So in 2002, I don't think there was particularly a baby boom necessarily over 1996 or so, 98.
There are no more Mondeo men than there.
Yeah. Mondeo men.
Mondeo men, son of Mondeo men.
Yeah.
So, what is it called? The Logan Act.
So the Logan Act.
Let's talk about the Logan Act. The Logan Act, ladies and gents. Let's talk about the Logan Act.
So the Logan Act is an act of Congress in the United States. It's federal law, and it says that any person or persons who pretend to be government, who take on the mantle of government in the United States are not allowed to do so unless they are the rightful government and have been elected by the people, by the Electoral College specifically, actually. So we have
Holden Schofield asks W2F. W2F, that means what Thursday? No, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
WTF, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
So let's get it up actually. The Logan Act.
We're talking about the Logan Act.
So the Logan Act is
hello Holden. Ask us a question.
By unauthorized American citizens with foreign governments having a dispute with the United States. That's now General Flynn. Did you follow the General Flynn case?
I am not aware of the General Flynn case.
So General Flynn was President Trump's national security advisor during his transition team after Hillary Clinton.
So this is 2016.
Yeah, 2016. So yeah, so the election in 2016.
MAGA 2020 says Holden Schofield.
Well done, MAGA. Mega 2021. We need to make England and Europe great again in 2021. We need it desperately. We need to work out how to do it now because we're heading into the winter. Governments are trying to keep us in our boxes. We're in a box right now. We're in a bunker. But nevertheless, what happened in 2016? So in 2016, there was a presidential election on the 8th of November, 2016. And that night, between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and the early hours of, I think, the 9th of November, Hillary Clinton conceded the race for the presidency. Now, the concession speech is an important milestone in the transfer of power between administrations in the American Republic. So because they have an elected head of state and that head of state, the president, is then both the military command. He's a civilian, but he's military commander in chief, and he's head of he's head of the executive branch of the American government, which includes all of the alphabet agencies, the FBI, CIA, including the Pentagon, including the State Department, the diplomats. Oliver's trying to match himself to his emerging portrait, or maybe Oliver's portrait is trying to ape itself on him. Middle distance, like Rushmore. I think you're looking off around Mount Rushmore. You are a stony mass head on Mount Rushmore already.
Mount Rushmore is the thing that will last longest.
You think so?
Like, it will last. It will take like 1 million years to erode away. It's be if the human race ended now.
Yeah,
that would be
one of the
final thing to.
More than the Giza pyramids of Giza, because they're piled up. They're not in the rock.
Yeah, they're not just granite.
Or but Petra rock cut.
Well, that's just like fucking.
That's lasted a while already.
Yeah, but it's only made of
sand.
Sedimentary stone.
Whereas what is
this like granite?
Okay. I don't know what the stone. Oh, that's interesting. It's the composition of Mount Rushmore. But nevertheless,
we were talking about
the Logan Act. So you can't masquerade as the government unless you are the government. Now you have to get to be the government. Now this is a 1799 law. The American Republic was set up it declared independence in 1766 during the Revolutionary War, and by 1783 they were forming their constitution. And so, but 1799, it's in the Federalist period, the earliest days of the Republic. And the peaceful transfer of power is the place where governments fall down. Because you often see some Stalin, some Lenin, some Hitler, some Machiavellian with an eye for the main chance and a long knife comes in at the moment when there's supposed to be a peaceful transfer between administrations, and they create chaos, they take power for themselves. They decapitate the government while it's trying to transition between administrations in a republic. So you've got one government of one party, and you have another government of another party, and that transition is the most delicate time in the nation, because the idea is for there not to be a revolution. The idea is for there to be a peaceful transition of power. And so the Logan Act is the means by which the early Federalists in the United States, people like Washington, like Jefferson, like Franklin, like Hamilton, created a structure. This is the Constitution and its amendments are a great document, the best we have. That's why we fly the flag. No, it's not here tonight, but we're here in spirit, around the corner. Why we fly the flag of the Republic, because it's, apart from ancient Athens with its prototype for blockchain democracy, in a government by the people for the people, the American Republic is the best thing we've come up with so far in recent history, trying to get past medievalism, trying to get past aristocracy, trying to get past kingship, and say, okay, we don't need the son of the ruler to be the ruler. We can find the guy who's best qualified for the job, and he might be the son of somebody, like Robert and John F. Kennedy were the sons of Joseph Kennedy, who was a senator and the ambassador to London during the Second World War. So the Clintons are another political dynasty in America, and the Trumps perhaps will be too. The Bidens perhaps. We see dynasties do build up, but the idea of the American Republic is that although you might have patrician first families, that there should be a reselection of who is going to be at the helm of the ship of state every 4 years. Now, that often comes to blows in courts, as we're going to see now, in recounts and so on. But we've had since 2000 peaceful transitions of power between U.S. administrations. So Al Gore versus George Bush in the 2000 election came down to Florida, and it was decided in the Supreme Court for George Bush, who then went on to create the clusterfuck of neoliberalism and the Afghan and Iraq wars. George Bush. So Al Gore then started selling carbon credits like a pyramid scheme, Ponzi scheme, scam artist. And you can see Michael Moore's great film, Planet of the Humans, which will explain the green energy, greenwashing scam hoax that Al Gore and his film an inconvenient truth was the genesis of this in the popular consciousnness, and we will go into that in more detail later. We're leaving the Logan Act behind, and you're right, we need to come back to it.
Well, the green agenda is almost impossible. It's now dogma, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, we shouldn't go. Let's stick with the Logan Act. Stick with the Logan Act. Because we're cycling off, and we need to stay on because this is so important to understand. So in 2000, George Bush said that he won the election while it was being counted.
Okay.
It went straight down the middle. Florida has what, 20 electoral votes, electoral college. So the other complication is that the people don't elect the president. The people elect electors of the electoral college,
Yeah.
and then the electoral college in December, a month after the election, I think it's the 13th of December or so, then elects the president. So this is where there's often discrepancies, but we don't remember because we don't think about the electoral college. We don't think about this crystalline structure of the American Republic, which is not purely a democracy, but is also an attempt to balance the will of the people and stable government without having these disastrous revolutions with blood running in the streets. How in the electoral votes in Florida are 20. So Florida has 29 in this election. Florida has 29 electoral votes. So in 2000, Florida was a linchpin, and Al Gore got half, George Bush got half, and Florida would push either one of them over the edge in to become the president.
Right.
Now, now Karl Rove, who's George Bush's chief strategist, said to George Bush, who is a pawn, a cipher, a puppet of Cheney and Rove. And
sorry, he said what to George Bush?
So Karl Rove and Dick Cheney,
Rove.
the powers behind the throne of George Bush and of the neoconservative movement in the Republican Party, as was, told George Bush, go out tonight on the night of the election and say you're the president, act like the president.
Yeah.
Act like you've won.
Okay.
Because possession is 9/10 of the law. So if the
media saying
say it, then you are it.
Believe it.
And then the other guy has to try to undo that story rather than state his own narrative. Now, those same strategists now working for Joe Biden and the Democrats, they're itinerant, they're mercenary. They were working for George Bush and the Republicans. Now the establishment is sitting with Joe Biden and the Democrats, what we call the deep state, the administrative state, the people that don't get fired in an election. The officials, the civil, what we call them.
You can vote for whoever you like, but Public Health England always get in.
Yes, nice are not nice any of the time.
Yeah.
And they're the same people all the time. 2000, the recount went on in Florida, one state went on and on and on. Eventually, it came down to 573 votes, 537 votes decided it in a recount for George Bush. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States. And funnily enough, some of the current Supreme Court justices who've just been appointed were acting as lawyers in that case, junior lawyers in that case.
Oh, right.
Which is very interesting. That was Amy Coney Barrett, who got into the Supreme Court only the other day as Associate Justice, and also Kavanaugh. They were both acting for the Republicans at the time in that case. In 2000. So we have this sort of rolling over of the generations. Now we're seeing this happening again, but not in Florida, not in Ohio. Florida and Ohio are the bellwether.
We're seeing it in Arizona, Pennsylvania.
Arizona, Pennsylvania. So Arizona is interesting because Arizona is Republican, but it's John McCain Republican, and John McCain and Trump were mortal enemies.
Yeah.
And now McCain is dead. The possibility of the gaming of Arizona is that the deep state has said, okay, come over to the Democrats, you McCain Republicans.
When Trump said, I don't like veterans who got captured.
I like the guys who didn't get captured.
Yeah, that's a hard one to argue your way out of as a statement, as opposed to just like a badly placed statement.
Oh, he didn't misspeak. Trump never misspeaks.
No, I mean
he's never once said I misspoke.
No. So what did he mean by that?
He meant that, well, I mean, if you
Literally,
the death or glory. It's like death or glory. It's like it's like Civil War idea. I mean, Trump's not a soldier. He's had bone spurs, and he said that trying not to get venereal disease in the 1980s in New York was his personal Vietnam.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a funny thing to say. That makes sense. You know.
So Trump is not not himself a soldier. McCain was and was captured in Vietnam by the Viet Cong. Was a prisoner of war for a long time. He lost the use of his arms. He was subjected to a great deal of torture.
Tough time. Yeah.
And so, but Trump said death or glory. Trump said, I think we should honor the people who died in combat, who get the Medal of Honor, who get the Purple Heart, who get the Silver Star, you know, or others, you know. But I don't want to. Essentially, he just did like John McCain. So he wanted to find a reason that John McCain was not as much of an icon as America saw him in life. Anyway, so George Bush and Al Gore. So it went to the court. George Bush went out and said, "I am the president-elect."
Johnny Morris
says, "Let me in." Is it great? Okay, that's
Johnny
fine.
Morris lives in America.
Ah, cool.
Yes,
Okay, so
Montana.
something on the ground. And that's not Zoom. Zoom. There we go. Look, sorry, Johnny, we're just with you in a second. Let's get what happened there? Why is my screen going? And what?
There we go.
Is that?
Well, Johnny, give us a ring. Ring up, and we'll answer because Zoom is on.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like something here.
Oh, Johnny Morris.
There we go. Hello, Johnny. Hey. Let's see if we can get you in here. Ask to unmute. More. Ask to start.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, Johnny.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
We got video or just audio?
Just audio.
Okay, great. So you're in the States. Went Republican.
Yes, I'm not well versed in the political agenda, but yeah, it was a red state.
What brings you to Montana? What brings you to Montana?
Funny enough, I met a girl traveling in Australia.
And she was from Montana.
Yeah, she was a Montana native.
Montana maiden.
Yeah.
And so she then encouraged you to come. Where I can't remember what's the capital of Montana. I've lost my US geography.
Helena. It's very small.
Helena. Is it Helena? Helena, Montana.
Not Helena. We get shot for calling it that.
Good old boys in Helena.
Yeah.
No.
And there's only 1 million people in the whole state, which is pretty interesting.
It's big state,
ginormous.
Isn't it?
I think it's.
Is it Great Plains? Is it called Great Plains? Is it that part of the Great Plains with the Dakotas?
There are Great Plains, but it's called the Treasure State or the Last Best Place.
Not the asbestos place. So you're there. How long have you been there?
On and off for about 10 years. Living over here officially 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you a resident alien? Or are you a citizen?
I'm a green card member, yeah.
You're a green card
holder. I've got a green card, but I didn't have the opportunity to vote in the circus, so I just enjoyed it from afar.
Green card holders can't vote, can they? Until they become citizens? No.
Or buy guns.
Or buy guns, really?
Yeah.
Can you borrow your wife's?
What are you insinuating, Lorenzo?
Gun, specifically.
All right, yeah.
Citizenship. Well, this is the thing. So,
no guns in the house.
1,776%. 1,000 in Pennsylvania. In the run up to this election in Pennsylvania, over 90. The demographics over 90-year-olds, people over 90 years old in Pennsylvania, had a 1,776% increase in their voter registration. in the run-up to the 2020 presidential election. So what does that mean? That means you've been alive for 90 years and you never registered to vote. And you're in an old people's home. And now, when you're over 90 years old, you somehow, when in COVID lockdown, get registered to vote and then have your vote. It's called granny farming. It's like a well-known form of electoral fraud.
Where's this from?
This is Pennsylvania. This is so the key.
Well, while we've got John
go to the Gateway Pundit. Everybody wants to know what the real news feed is of right now in the courts, with right now in all of the recounts, in all of the if you go to thegatewaypundit.com, that gives you, without all the mainstream media spin, exactly what's going on right now. The top headline.
Interesting, because that's the issue I have, is where do you read anything and how do you trust anything that you believe?
So
there's always
Spectrum. Go for a Spectrum.
An agenda.
Go for a Spectrum. Watch Tim Pool on YouTube. He had 1 million views today with Alex Jones on his show, who's been banned from YouTube. Watch Alex Jones on Infowars.com. Watch CNN. Read the New York Times. Read the Washington Post. Read the New York Post and the Washington Times. So the New York Times, for everybody who doesn't know, I didn't know this for a long time. So the New York Times and the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, are liberal woke papers, and the Washington Times and the New York Post, opposite ways round, are the Trump style papers. These are all the most ancient papers in America, along with the Boston Globe and Mail and so on. Pray Harper Music entered the waiting room. Admit. Who's Pray Harper Music?
Interesting.
So Johnny, you still there?
Hey.
Yep.
Here's a question. What's the sort of the emotional temperature
in Montana?
In Montana, what are people saying that you sort of know and meet at work and in the pub or whatever?
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, again, I think
Keep America Great.
They sort of pick out a couple of issues that are personal to them and they like, don't they? Hey, video.
And we have Pray Harper Music. Hey.
Oh. Is that Johnny? No, all right.
Hey, I saw you just sent Pray. You just sent a message on the Fuck COVID group.
I did, yes, I did.
Sorry, Johnny. We have a new guest. It's Pray Harper Music.
No. I can't see you guys.
You can use you're now on the YouTube feed.
Did you get my song? I sent you a song.
I didn't hear it yet because we were just advertising and prepping, but we can play it in a minute. We can play it in a minute if you'd like. Hey, Pray. I'm Lorenzo. I saw you posted on Martin Skinner's Fuck COVID group with an audio track, which we haven't listened to yet. Where are you? Are you in the States? You're a +1 number.
I'm in Los Angeles.
You're in LA.
In Laurel Canyon right now.
You're in Laurel Canyon.
I'm waiting for this video to kick in. I can't see you guys, but can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you. You're on the feed.
We can see your MAGA hat.
We can see you. It's not a MAGA.
Is it?
It's a MAG.
Oh, Keep America Great.
It's a CAG hat.
CAG.
It's a CAGA. CAGA?
There you go. It's a CAG, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to keep it as strong as we can.
So how is it? So we have Johnny Morris, Englishman. We have Johnny Morris, an Englishman in Montana, and we have Pray, who is who's a Trumpite in Laurel Canyon in California. How is that?
It's like being the only one. It's pretty interesting. I was fortunate to have a good English education. I went to an Episcopal school here in Los Angeles, and I'm well aware of some next word. I'm well aware of
they firing guns into
the Orwellian nature that's come.
COVID 1984.
Laurel Canyon. The people here in Laurel Canyon are all for Biden, and they're all for locking down and wearing masks. Sleepy Joe.
Are they for Sleepy Joe, or are they against Trump?
In LA in general, I would say that if I get into 10 Ubers, I would say 8 of the 10, they're all for Trump.
Oh, okay.
Because Trump's a businessman.
Are the Uber drivers local? Are the Uber drivers native Californians?
Most of them, yeah. Most of them are LA kids.
Born and raised.
Most people in LA are just people who want to, they're just Americans. They're not all movie stars, obviously.
Yeah.
But the ones who are in the system are all in for Biden. They love it. They hate Trump because, frankly, I think people have grown to hate God or good, as the Germans say. The good.
The Gute, yeah.
We won't
Gottes Gute.
be happy, right?
Yes.
Folks, we want to be happy. They want to talk about a dumpster. Excuse me, boys. I'm going to be 1 second. I just have to walk through a room, and I don't want to disturb anybody.
Okay. Johnny.
Hello.
You're still here. Fantastic. So tell us a bit about what happened with the election in Montana. Do you get to see people? Are you living rurally? Are you living in a city? Are there cities in Montana?
Well, where I'm living is one of the fastest growing cities in the country, I think. Bozeman, everybody seems to be flocking.
Oh, Bozeman.
The new
Joe Rogan was saying he might move there instead of Austin.
Right.
That was
It's crazy. The construction and the growth in the last 5 years is unreal. I mean, it's relentless. And
what's the industry? What do they do? Is it fracking?
I think, that's what they're trying to figure out at the moment. At the moment, it's out of staters coming in and just buying cheaper property relative to where they live. So,
it's like a holiday home.
People just buying. Yeah. I mean,
it's
the
like
mountains
Cornwall.
are 45 minutes away. Yeah.
So it's like the economy of Cornwall.
There's a lot of shooting and fishing.
A lot of outdoorsy. It's where,
Oh, that's why Joe wanted to go. He's a hunter, a bow hunter.
What was that? Was it Brad Pitt? No, Robert Redford in the river.
Oh, okay.
What was that film?
Mystic
called?
River.
Oh.
There's a film called Mystic River. Well, that's in Boston, though. There's actually a river called the Mystic River.
A lot of fly fishing, a lot of outdoors recreational, like snowboarding, hunting, fishing type
A
stuff.
river runs through it.
A river runs through it.
That's
Thank
it,
you.
yeah.
Thank you, Craig.
Right, yeah. Well, and I think the interesting thing is just from listening to friends or people that I know, I think the average person just distills down what they want to hear, don't they? Like Sleepy Joe Biden's a paedophile and Trump's a bigot.
Yeah.
And then you kind of make personal whatever issues you think are important. And I think a lot of the people here, if you're a business owner, are pro-Trump because he's better for business. And it can be that simple, I think. And then there was a lot
Were there any
around
riots
Biden
were there any riots in Bozeman? Was there any
No. It depends which group you're in. I mean, if you're a female, then Trump is basically like the devil, isn't he, for all of the stuff he's said.
For single women, that is the case. For married women, Trump wins married women every time. In fact, married white women won Trump the election last time. Remember, there was all the propaganda of he's a misogynist, he's a pussy grabber. You can't vote for him because Hillary Clinton has a vagina and you have one too. So the only thing you can take into account is the fact that you both have the same sex. You're not allowed as a woman to have any other means of deciding your political views other than sex. And that propaganda was shoved down the throats of women in America, and it didn't fly. White married women in the privacy of the voting booth, even shy Trumpers, ask themselves, women are the custodians of civilization. Women who have children want their children to survive and thrive. And in the privacy of the voting booth, what women do is they say, who is safest? Who's the safest pair of hands? Who's the father of the nation? And it was clear last time that wasn't Hillary Clinton, that was Donald Trump, even despite all of the misogyny propaganda that was leveled at women.
Talking of egos, is Ollie having a self-portrait done as we speak?
Yes. Yes.
You got it, Johnny. You got it.
That is amazing.
This is Dan. So this is Dan Kalupski, our court artist for the evening. We've got many court artists here. Ed Mirza, Philip Desov, but Dan is making oil, a live oil. It's like 9/10 life size. You can see Oliver with his own homunculus.
Can you do one for me as well?
Yeah, of course.
How much are you charging for these epic?
It's one Bitcoin. It's 1 Bitcoin.
Well, that's far too
sure. I'm happy to do it.
I'm a hodler.
Oh, you're oh, fantastic. Hodl hard, hodl long.
I'll be
How
hard
much
for
would you
years,
How much
yeah.
would you be willing to pay for something like this?
The willingness to
That
pay.
is amazing.
Yes,
That is
he's got his
My
dress.
friend told me to buy Bitcoin at $10.
oh, come on.
Say again.
You bought Bitcoin when it was $10. I think Prey bought Bitcoin when it was $10.
Oh, that was.
Fucking hell. That's just made me feel sick. I might have to leave the call.
$3,000. No. It's more disgusting than you know. I had a friend who had a shop, a weed shop, and I put 30 grand into a weed shop. And my friend was telling me to buy Bitcoin. My other friend was telling me to buy Bitcoin at $10.
Wonderful.
So I should have 30 million or 40 million, but I don't.
Oh.
I do, however, still have that friend, and I would like to introduce him to all of you. He's friends with me and Martin.
Oh, fantastic.
And,
well,
he's
we'd
a
love to get him on
technologist, and
board.
He's here to help.
We'd love to get him on board. Like,
But you know what I learned most about that? Guys, you know what I learned most? Because everybody I tell that gets sick to their stomach, like I've been sick.
I mean, it does make you clench
But
a
in
little
reality,
in the sphincters. Yeah.
well, what you learn is what's the difference between having 40 million in Bitcoin? Obviously, I can make a big difference for all of us, but I don't. But I have the friend who knows how all that stuff works, and in reality, we've got to change the mindset from one individual being a king to everybody winning, right? So
Exactly.
I'm still on that path where I want
Direct
to figure out how
democracy on
everyone's
the
gonna win.
blockchain. That's what we're building at the New Athens. Direct democracy on the blockchain. If you look at how ancient Athens was structured, the reason why we call it the New Athens is we can, instead of gathering on a hillside and deciding our policies, we can use our phones on the blockchain and make decisions together. We don't need politicians. We don't need lawyers. We don't need that intermediary layer. We can do it us. We've done it with money, with Bitcoin, and now we can do it with governance.
Why wasn't the election done on blockchain? It's like,
well,
come
so Trump was actually
Well, 'cause they can't fix
put
that.
a patent for
on. Yeah, right, exactly.
for
They can't
blockchain
fix it.
voting
It's just-
inside the
it's that
USPS, inside the US
ridiculous,
Postal Service. It's unclear whether that proof of
Well, you guys heard about
concept
Dominion?
was used. Yeah, Dominion is the other side of that. Dominion is the Democrat project that comes out of two computer programs developed by the CIA and Pentagon and DARPA called Hammer and Scorecard. So Hammer and Scorecard are
That's my nickname in high school.
Hammer the Scorecard. A star. We used to try and get A star 4, which was like high achievement and zero effort. It's like effortlessness. Sprezzatura. So A star was achievement, and 1 to 4 was effort. So you want high achievement, low effort. So that's very sprezzy.
I don't think me or Johnny tried anything to achieve anything.
And look where we are. You're having your
I live in central London. I've got a fucking oil painting in my house myself.
You
That's how
won.
you do it. That's how you do it.
won.
Who's laughing now, set 5 English? That is brilliant. All
so-
right, I've got to dash. I've got to go.
Such a
for
pleasure
some
to meet
work,
you.
but,
Finally, I've heard so much about you.
lovely to pop
Come
in.
back on the podcast. We'll have a chat later. I'd love to
I
hear
will,
more
yeah,
about
lovely.
Bose,
Have a
man.
nice evening.
Likewise.
Yeah, John.
Catch you later, John.
Bye.
John Fowler, just a quick introduction. John Fowler asks, why do you have the painting from Ghostbusters in your house? Sorry, carry on.
Who do you want to call? Biden Busters. So he's got a painting in his basement that ages for him.
There we go. Yeah.
Joe, Sleepy Joe in the basement. Maybe this is what maybe this is your future. Maybe your future is in the basement
Oh yeah.
with Sleepy Joe.
It's a successful strategy for some people.
Yeah, to game an election. So yeah, Prey, you were right. Scorecard and Hammer and Dominion voting system. This is where we're going to see the overturning. And as Pompeo, the Secretary of State, said 2 days ago, we're going to have a smooth, peaceful transition to a second Trump administration. I don't know, Prey, if you follow the Gateway Pundit. I've just started following the Gateway Pundit in the past week, which has all of the stories as they come out live without the mainstream media spin, or even it's just taking the stories as they come. It's not saying we're not doing the mainstream media spin. It's just like, this is what's happening. So the top headlines you can see on the feed here. excluded based on the reports by auditors, IT specialists, data analysts, and statisticians. The number of illegitimate votes identified in 4 swing states are enough to overturn the election. That's breaking now, or today. Pennsylvania election judge. Dozens of blank ballots missing from end-of-day count at one county precinct on election day. There was a very interesting analysis by Tim Pool on his Timcast YouTube channel, which is very good, and by Alex Jones and by others of as we said, granny farming, the farming of votes from over 90-year-olds, of the destruction of ballots in the count. So what essentially happened was that the Democratic Party had 4 years to game this election, and they've tried their hardest to do so, and they've come out in front of the story. This gets back to the Logan Act. So they came out in front of the story, and they produced this. If you look for Joe Biden, president-elect. So this is the violation of the Logan Act in a picture. If you see here, here's Sleepy Joe. He's been dosed up with Adderall, and as Joe Rogan said the other day, he's had a turkey baster of testosterone put up his ass, and he's been wheeled out from the basement to go on this lectern, and it says Office of the President-elect, Joseph R. Biden Jr. You can see here. Here is the picture. This is Joe Biden committing a crime. This is a criminal enterprise. This picture is a criminal enterprise against the Logan Act. Now, the Logan Act says
that is hiding in plain sight, isn't it?
Unless you're the actual government, you cannot do this. You cannot pretend to negotiate with foreign powers who are at odds with America, i.e., China, Iran, North Korea, Saudi Arabia, or even anyone not in NATO. You know, and if you notice, one of the main media planks that the mainstream media have been using in the United States to call the election for Joe Biden is that he's being called by foreign leaders. So the elections have been called before the counts have finished. As you can see, we'll go into it later.
Or give him a ring.
Exactly. Well, after he had left Dominic Cummings left the little Trump in the little picture. Did you see that?
Oh, right.
I'll show you in a sec. So the office of the president-elect. This is a criminal offence. What was this picture is a picture of a brazen, hiding in plain sight criminal offence, because you're not allowed to say you are the president-elect or you have that office until you do. That's what the Logan Act says. Why is this a problem? Because there are 2 ways you can become the president-elect. The first is after all the counts have finished of the votes, after all the disputes that go up to all the courts, and the election is clearly called by on I think it's the 13th of December this year by the Electoral College. The Electoral College votes. And then that electoral college elects the president, and who becomes the president-elect. The election is the electoral college election, which is not the people's vote. They elect the electors to the electoral college. There's a gap here. Now, why? So when you've overcome that hurdle of winning the electoral college vote on I think the 13th of December this year, then you can say you're the president-elect. Or if your opponent if all your opponents, in this case only one, Donald Trump, concedes and provides a concession speech. If there's a concession, if the sitting in the case of a re-election, if the sitting president concedes and says you are the president-elect, he can confer the right to a no contest. It's the loser's. The loser can make the process shorter and more of a formality. So the electoral college becomes a formality of a paper trail, because there's no contest. What you saw with the mainstream media after the
it's like a ratchet. You can undo it, but it's difficult to do up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the losing candidate can make life easier for the winning candidate. But if one candidate claims to be the winner and the other candidate, who is not the loser, they're just the other one, does not accept the mantle of being the loser, then you have to go through the whole process to its full extent. And that leads up to the electoral the vote of the Electoral College on the 13th of December. And if the Electoral College cannot decide, if neither candidate gets over 270 votes in the Electoral College, the vote is then not the vote of the people. The vote then returns either to the Supreme Court, as you saw in 2000 with Bush v. Gore, or if there's no contest at that level, because there's a way in which this path can be closed, then the vote is returned to the Congress, the previous Congress. Now the House of Representatives is the congressman. There's about 600 of them, and they have a majority. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, so she has the majority of the representatives, like the MPs in the Parliament. Nancy Pelosi is like the Prime Minister of America, in the sense that she is in the House of Representatives, in the Parliament of America, which is actually a small part of the government. In our government, it's a much larger part of the government. In terms of the legislature, the three arms of government, the executive headed by the president, the legislature, which is the Senate and the House and the Congress, the House of Representatives together, and the judiciary, which is the courts and the Supreme Court. These three arms of government are what's called balanced in the American Republic. We don't have a balanced republic in this country. We don't have a republic at all. We have a monarchy, and our prime minister is the first servant of the monarch. Like, we get to suggest, we get a precatory vote. We get to suggest, to entreat the monarch who she might like to have as her first servant. That's our election. In America, they properly elect their electoral college. Now, the legislature, so that's the election for the executive. So if the executive can't be decided by the electoral college that comes out of the people's vote, then the decision as to who becomes president returns to the legislature, because they've been elected. Like all these 600 or so representatives in the Congress have been elected in 2016 or in 2018. So the sitting representatives, of which there's a majority for Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. Now you might think, okay, so if it goes to the House of Representatives, if you can't decide the Electoral College because it's 270 each, or neither can get to 270 because there's states that have been maybe disqualified, or they're doing another vote, or there's a contest in the courts or whatever. By that date, by December the 13th, the Electoral College has to vote. And it said if they can't usefully vote, then they will the presidency will be turned over to the House of Representatives. And although Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats have a majority in the House of Representatives, it's not voted by a straight majority. It's voted by state delegations.
Nikolai's on the thing. Say hi to
Hey, Nikolai.
Is Nikolai there?
Did you send him the link?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. What is he on? Is he on Zoom?
Did you just send a video?
No, that was our friend. If it were a straight vote of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats would win. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. Maybe the other point, but it's not a vote of the numbers. It's a vote of the state delegations in the House of Representatives, and actually, more states delegations are controlled by Trump's Republicans in the 2016 and 2018, in the 2019 House of Representatives, and so it will be a Trump victory. If it can't, it'll either be it'll either go to the Supreme Court, where Trump has a 6-3 majority, possibly a 5-4 majority, based on Amy Coney Barrett, who he appointed to the Supreme Court only a week or two before the election, and so on that side, he's got the majority in the Supreme Court. If it goes that way, if it goes the other way to the House of Representatives, he has the majority of the House delegations in the Congress. So Pelosi, Biden don't win. So Trump has two paths to victory in like the end game scenario, and that's where we get back to what we see in the Gateway Pundit, which we've been looking at very closely. So we see Pelosi visibly irritated when asked if she takes any responsibility for the loss of House seats. So what's astonishing about this election? Is that, as you mentioned, Oliver, Trump did better than he did last time. Trump did better than Obama did in 2008 when hope and change against John McCain and against the George Bush regime, the neocons. There was a great wave of relief. We're so relieved, all of us, that George Bush was done and that John McCain, his successor, was done. We had this young man, this young, beautiful speaker who had oratory and he had education. And he seemed to be everything that George Bush, the sort of down-home, good old boy fake from Yale, who's actually a patrician, who's actually part of the deep ruling class, but pretending to be this like nice southerner. You know, it's like this idiot, it's like village idiot.
Pretending to be Candide.
Yes, but you know, he was wise enough to know to take orders. He was wise enough to not let the presidency get to his head. He knew that Karl Rove, Wolfowitz, and Dick Cheney were ruling the United, and Donald Rumsfeld were driving the bus, and so he knew not to like become a king, and think of himself. He knew he was a tool, and that the office of the president was not the be all and end all of the neocon movement. So we all love we across the world and across America. There was a wave of joy when Obama was elected, and if you remember, the 2008 election lasted 2 years. You know, they were the great battle in the Democratic primaries between Obama and Hillary Clinton. In every state, there was a running 18 months of Democratic primaries to decide whether Obama or Hillary Clinton would be the nominee. And then you had the Titanic battle between John McCain and Obama. So it's huge attention, the most attention of any election ever. And attention is what leads to votes, right? Because people who they're not obsessed with politics, they're not pundits like us. They probably only are interested in what's happening on election day. If they're going to go and vote, then they're probably looking at it like on that day or maybe the night before. Like, what's the story got to by now? Then you have people who aren't political obsessives engaging with politics on voting day or the night before or the week before, you know, when the thing's hotting up. But you know, this was so much attention. Obama then got the Nobel Peace Prize immediately while he was president-elect. Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize for not having started a war yet. He then started 2 wars, one in Syria, one in Libya with Hillary Clinton. Great. Well, I mean, they awarded the Nobel Peace Prize to Henry Kissinger, and Vietnam was his war. So it's not like the Nobel Peace Prize really means anything, having given it to 2 warmongers. But nevertheless, he got that, and we all think, oh, great, you know, the end to neocons, the end to wars of foreign domination in the Middle East. But no such luck. Instead, we got 8 more years of George Bush with a friendlier, politer, more educated face in Barack Obama. So then we had the Hillary Clinton Trump first, you know, the final battle. Where are we going with this? Yes, so there was this great wave of anticipation and joy when Obama was elected. Obama got the most votes of any presidential candidate ever, until Trump, this time in 2020, beat him based on a huge upswelling of public following and engagement. So he went out into the states when there was lockdowns around different states. He was there in airports, filling stadia, you know, having chants of 5 minutes at a time. We love you. We love you. The crowd's going wild. Not social distancing. Not masked. Not dying.
All
the while, Joe Biden was in the basement in Delaware. Now, why is this important? Because political campaigns are won positively, not negatively. Political campaigns are won by somebody saying, this is what I'm for. Now, even though Trump's a Marmite figure, this most polarizing, most Freudian candidate ever, where people either love him or loathe him because they see their father, their hatred for their own father, or their daddy issues, whatever, massive on a international scale. He's global. This one man is the obsession of the world. He's this agon, this father, this big other, as Lacan would call it. It's a Freudian. It's been a Freudian 5 years, since 2015, so maybe 6 years. And since Trump announced his candidacy for president, it's been like Oedipus. It's an Oedipus complex, massive Oedipus complex, Electra complex,
Right.
globally, not just in America. Now, elections don't get won by negative campaigning, and they don't get won by voting against the other guy. Saying I'm not that other guy doesn't win you an election.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't. There's no force of will behind it.
There's no attraction. It's just
repulsion of something else.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's not like gravity. It's more like
centripetal.
It's more like force. It's like you don't win. You have to win the people over. You can't just shock and awe isn't enough.
Yeah.
Like Iraq was all about shock and awe. Look where that got them. You know?
Yes. Negative campaigning. So Biden's campaign was entirely a negative campaign. The people who voted for him didn't even know what he stood for. They only know that he wasn't Trump.
Yeah.
And he was the person who'd been put up. Now, Joe Biden's been losing primaries since 1988. I was born in 1987. Since I was 1 year old, 32 years, Joe Biden's been losing elections. He's won his election to the Senate every time. He's a senator for Delaware, senior senator for Delaware, and has been since for 37 years, I think. But no, for 32 years, Joe Biden first ran for president in the Democratic primary in 1988, when I was 1 year old, and he was forced to climb down and leave the Democratic primary in disgrace because his plagiarism of an essay, a dissertation at university, at law school, was found out, and he had to make a semi-tearful sort of mea culpa apology in front of the news cameras while he was running for Democratic president in the primaries, saying, "I'm really sorry, I copied on my homework."
He didn't copy Neil Heseltine's speech, did he? Who copied Neil Heseltine?
There are several of these, but this was like in law school. Americans take very seriously because you become a JD, a doctor of law, Juris Doctor. So law school is like a 3-year hothouse. You don't take it undergraduate, you take it postgraduate. You do 4 years of liberal arts, undergraduate, and then you go to law school. He looks like Keanu Reeves now.
Lucky Keanu Reeves.
Yes, exactly. I think you're prettier. You're prettier.
That was very kind. Thank you. I'm prettier than Keanu Reeves. You heard it here on the New Athens. I'm prettier than Keanu Reeves.
Absolutely. Is that you're not wooden either? You're not wooden. Like, I'm a real boy.
No way. No way, dude.
Bodacious. Excellent. Socrates. Yes. What was that great film that he was in? Where he was a surfer, the little surfers, The Dead Presidents, where they robbed banks. Tidal Fade. I can't remember the name now. Point Break.
Yeah.
Point Break, where he was.
It's a film noir. That is.
Yes. It's wonderful.
Yes, yeah.
Is it Lynch?
No.
Is it David Lynch? No, who is it? It feels like David Lynch to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, so The Dead Presidents, robbing banks in president masks. Point Break, great film. Keanu Reeves' greatest film, actually, by far.
Very good, yeah.
I mean, Keanu Reeves' best performance in a film. Like, The Matrix is the archetypal film of the 21st century. In fact, it wasn't made in the 21st century. It was made in the 20th century. It was made in the second.
It's like Metropolis of the 21st century.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But Keanu Reeves, it wasn't a great performance from him as Neo, because he's a cipher. He's every man. He's the Messiah without a personality. He's Neo. Literally,
he was
his
a blank
name.
canvas.
Yeah, and now he's been homunculus. So that's your homunculus. That's your little demon,
man in my head.
little man in the little man in the
Controlling all the
bottle.
levers.
Yeah, the little man in the bottle.
Oh yeah.
Or the alchemists. So like Elon Musk.
Elon Musculus.
Like Elon Musk.
Homunculus.
Elon homunculus. Elon homunculus. Elon homunculus. So Elon is now trying to create homunculi. He is an alchemist.
Oh,
he's putting the Neuralink into the brain of a pig.
What? So you can control a pig with your mind?
No, so the
pig, yeah.
yeah, so the pig gets super intelligence of a pig. The pig is pig plus
The pig gets all the
Pentium.
information of the internet.
It's pig plus Pentium
Get out, really?
Intel
Yeah.
Pentium processor.
A pig is going to be connected to the internet, and what?
And then the internet pig is gonna take over the rest of the internet and turn it into a swine. Socrates. What is it? I'd rather be a pig. I'd rather be Socrates unsatisfied than a pig satisfied.
Yeah.
So the internet is going to turn into Socrates' nightmare of a pig satisfied, because like the hormonal triggers of the pig are going to like spread out into the internet. What happened to the meeting? And it's fine. Where were we? So Elon Homunculus, he is creating homunculi. The Philosopher's Stone was alchemy is from Egypt. It means al is from, and Kemet is the ancient Egyptian name for Egypt. So al-Kemet is of ancient Egypt, in ancient Egyptian, and also in Arabic. So alchemists and chemistry. So chemistry is also Egyptian science. Today we study Egyptian science in chemistry. Well, etymologically in chemistry. So al-Kemet, or the study of ancient Egypt, was the attempt to recover the antiquitech of whatever technology built the pyramids and created the Egyptian civilization, of which we see these last megalithic survival tokens like Mount Rushmore.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So the alchemists, they were trying to create the philosophers. They're big projects like Hyperloop, an Elon Musk project, like Neuralink, an Elon Musk project, like SpaceX. And so Elon Musk is the alchemist of today. He's trying to bring forth science in these different directions and engineering, right? He's trying to get a vacuum tube train, Hyperloop. He's trying to create SpaceX to a mission to Mars with rockets that land by themselves and don't get burned up in the atmosphere. And he is putting a computer in the human brain. So he has the same ambition and project of the alchemist. He's appeared on Joe Rogan's show, and he's smoked a spliff and said that the share price of Tesla should be 420, because 420 is a representation of weed. And then he tanked the stock price and then built it up again. Based on Joe Rogan, and it was like 30 million views of that show, only beaten by the Alex Jones Returns show of 2019. 50 million views across all platforms. We've not got it yet, but we're on the way. 5 years time. So
how do you? But here's the mantra.
Oliver's mantra.
The mantra of
the accelerate of the tech accelerator.
How do you get successful? The answer is start 5 years ago. We're 6 months in, so and
we're now
success is logarithmic.
Yes,
it's a long, shallow tail and then cowabunga.
Yes, as you can see with the Bitcoin graph.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
a long ramp up, and then a log scale brings it up a mountain. And actually, although Bitcoin was worth 0 cents for like almost 10 years, relatively speaking, and then it became worth $20,000 in January 2018, that scaled that peak in an exponential growth curve, as you say, on a log scale, like climbing a mountain. And then, of course, it dropped back from $20,000 to $3,000, and then now it's gone up to 10 again. But if you draw that graph on a log scale,
it's invisible.
No, so what you see is you climb the mountain, and then you go down and you go up. And so I don't know where can we see this in here? It's a very, very basic sketch graph. Let's see. There we go. If you share this. So I think we got it the right way around. I think maybe we can see it in the feed the right way around. How many reflections?
That's the opposite. That's now the audience will be seeing
the wrong way round, or the right way round. Check it, because I need to. How many mirrors? There's a mirror graph mirror if a mirror graph could graph mirrors. Right. So. The value of Bitcoin. Was 0 for a very long time.
Put it back. Let's have a look.
Okay. So if you see that, that is the graph. Is it the right way around?
Viewer is seeing
The wrong way.
the wrong way around.
Okay, so I need to draw the mirror image of that graph, and then we can see it properly. So
What we're doing is drawing the
You-
mirror image of a logarithmic growth graph
curve
in
of
order
the value of Bitcoin
to,
over the past.
this
10
is a
years.
proof of how much Lorenzo understands of it. He can literally do it backwards.
So
Buy Bitcoin.
if I can't
Probably,
do,
I don't know.
so I do the number. How do I do the number? I do a K backwards. Do a K backwards, and then you do a 0, and you do a 2 backwards. There. So that says that's going to say 20K. Look, that's going to say 20K.
Okay.
That's going to say 0.
Sorry guys, sorry for the wait. We're just drawing this backwards logarithmic graph all about the
And I can do
the growth of
the
Bitcoins.
value of Bitcoin. So if I do
You really
2009, no,
Oh, right.
2009
Okay, right,
backwards.
Okay, right.
So that's so I'm getting it now. That's
28,
1
17.
0 backwards 2. That's how do you do an A backwards?
It's Leonardo da Vinci writing all his notes in mirror writing.
But not without the mirror. And this is like how do you do now backwards? It's W
O-N.
O backwards N, like that. This is O backwards 2 O backwards 2. Right, okay. Does that look right? Take your meetings from basic. Fuck off. Convert me. Stop converting. Stop.
Right, ladies and gents, what you're going to see now is
It's the
the child's
attempt
drawing of the
of-
future.
Yeah. So, does it say? Yes, it says words and numbers. Look, that says words and numbers.
Yeah, good.
So, what we can see here, and just look in this. If you look in
Oh,
this
right.
one,
Oh, yeah.
then you'll see the right way around. I think.
Yeah.
I hope this is the right round. So, okay, this is a graph of the value of Bitcoin over the past 11 years. So on the 3rd of January 2009, the Genesis block of the Bitcoin blockchain was mined, and so that means that the Bitcoin machine, the global computer, the money computer in the internet began on the 3rd of January 2009. And at the time, the value. So what we see on the x-axis is time, 2009 to 2018 to now. And on the y-axis, we see the value of Bitcoin in dollars from $0 to $20,000.
Is that linear? Or
And now this is a logarithmic scale. So if we take, okay, so that's how do we do this?
10, 100, 1,000.
Yeah. So
10,000.
so if we can just draw it backwards quickly,
100.
0, 0, 1. And then
1,000.
0, 0, 0, 1, and then 0, 0, 0,
And then the one above there will be
0,
100.
1, and then that's 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. So 20K, that's where we got to. Right, there we go, and there we go. Okay, so that's a better graph. So what you see here is the value of Bitcoin backwards. Well, you see it, I drew it backwards, but it's actually the right way around in the feed. So Dan's doing rather well with the eyes now. If you look, we can't see that right now. But so here, the Bitcoin machine turned on the 3rd of January 2009 and mined the first block on the Bitcoin blockchain. It was worth 0. And this is the scale's not very good on the x-axis, but that lasted a very long time. Bitcoin was worth nothing in dollars for one Bitcoin. This is the value of one Bitcoin in dollars. This line on the y-axis. So it was for a very long time, for like most of 7 years. That was almost nothing. And then coming up through winter 2016 when we founded Art Chain. And afterwards, there was a rapid rise of the value of Bitcoin to $20,000, peaking at January 2018, just after the new year. And so there we have $20,000. But this is so what we're measuring on a logarithmic scale, which our friend George Fuller and I were examining when we were looking at his Rain Man technique of understanding the numbers as an accountant. And he's a very good accountant. If you want an accountant, go George Fuller, heir of the Fuller's Brewery dynasty, and a very prideful man, Fuller's only pride. So 20,000. So Bitcoin reached 20,000. One Bitcoin reached $20,000 in January 2018, and then Bitcoin so-called failed. It dropped down to 3K, and then now it's back up at 10. Why is this interesting? Because if you view it on a logarithmic scale, where each unit on the y-axis is a multiple of 10, the first mountain climb was hard, the first ascent, and actually, although it dropped back down to 3 isn't that hard. 3 isn't that much of a drop, and 10 is almost back to where we were originally. So you can see that the log graph shows us how the first ascent is hard. The drop, although it sounds a lot, to 20,000 back down to 3, is not that much in terms of how much you've scaled and how easy it is to scale again. So if we then project into the future, what we should be seeing is perhaps then another maybe over 100,000, and then perhaps down, and perhaps up again. Each time ascending a new summit. So we perhaps see into the future this pattern returning as we saw at the beginning, of continuously increasing peaks in this value of Bitcoin in dollars, especially as we see the chaos in America now. We'll come back to that later. It's backwards. It's very hard to do. But where were we? So what we saw is a crime being committed against the Logan Act. Why is the Logan Act interesting? Because for 4 years, General Flynn, who was President-elect Donald Trump in 2016's national security advisor, i.e. he was going to take control of all of the apparatus of state with regard to what's called intelligence. So that's the NSA, which Snowden showed was spying on American people and people around the world. The CIA, the FBI, all the alphabet agencies, the intelligence agencies attached to the United States executive branch and managed by the president and his staff. Trump came to victory in 2016 on the basis of draining the swamp, of retooling the administrative state so that it would no longer exist outside of Pray Harper says, hello, my phone died, now I'm back. So we've seen it with Dominic Cummings in Britain. We'll come on to him in a minute. He's just resigned as chief advisor to Boris Johnson. And let's actually see if that helps. Wait a moment. So why is this a crime? Because Trump hasn't conceded the election. There's still counts going on. There's still court cases going on. This could run on until the 13th of December, when the Electoral College must vote, or even potentially after that, in which case the Electoral College will be robbed of its vote, and that vote will turn to either the Supreme Court's decision in a court case or the vote of the state delegations in the House of Representatives, both of which look to end up with a Trump win. The recounts look perhaps towards a Trump win. So getting out ahead of the story, possession is 9/10 of the law. Joe Biden has the strategists of Bush, has the same people on board with the Democratic Party now. They've flip-flopped over to the other side. This is the neoliberal party of globalism, of the future of America. And so they've advised him, get out in front of the story, get ahead of the story, and say that you're the president-elect. Doesn't matter. You will be.
You said that already. Oh my God. Come up with a new idea. Jesus.
Okay.
I know like some people are just tuning in, but I've been listening to this the whole evening.
Yes, voice of reason. Oliver has returned. He's decided to dive under the table. So let's jump back across the pond and see what's happening with Dominic Cummings.
Pray Harper's back.
Yeah, Pray Harper is back. Is he back in the Zoom as well? Let's see. Let's Zoom. Where's the... No, here's the street drive. But anyway, who has some noise going on his line anyway? So, let's see what's happened to Dominic Cummings, the Trumpian figure in Britain, who swept to victory with Brexit. And we've discussed on the show his political career before, how he has cookies from The Guardian. Yes, I'm happy. Dominic Cummings, Boris Johnson. This is breaking news in The Guardian. On this Friday, November 13th, 2020. This is the turn up for the books, I suppose, today. Dominic Cummings, Boris Johnson boots out top advisor, says The Guardian. Used to be a great paper against the Iraq War, against George Bush, against Tony Blair, against New Labour, and against the neoliberalisation of British politics.
Who did?
The Guardian used to be in 2003. It's a great paper. Now it's flipped. Everything's flipped, and now it's a globalist paper. And it's no longer part of the old left, no longer part of the workers' parties, no longer looking to represent the interests of old. Keanu is really appearing. Of old. You are the new Dorian Gray.
Keanu.
That was an interesting thing. We need to go back and look at Elon Musk as an alchemist. I didn't think people had looked at that before. Anyway, the alchemist of the green. Boris Johnson boots out top advisor Dominic Cummings. This is what the Guardian's take is now in its neoliberal new form. No longer the paper of the left, but the paper of the new neoliberal so-called left. Boris Johnson has ordered Dominic Cummings to leave Downing Street with immediate effect, says The Guardian, in a dramatic end to a tumultuous era which leaves a void at the heart of Downing Street, the void being the brain. Dominic Cummings was the brain at Downing Street, and now there is not one.
Oh yeah, because Boris is not a clever person.
He's a classicist.
So
he's a classicist. He's learned.
He's a classic.
He's learned.
He's
learned and he's ambitious.
You might be able to calculate the circumference of a jam jar, but can he get the lid off? Do you know what I mean? That's the question.
Or you tap it with it. Tap it with a knife.
Carry on.
So, the past 5 years in British politics, since about May 2016, maybe sort of March, since about April 2016. Did you see? You all should see this. Benedict Cumberbatch playing Dominic Cummings in
that was good.
Brexit: The Uncivil War on Channel 4, the great drama, with a very sympathetic portrayal of Dominic Cummings by Benedict Cumberbatch, who doesn't agree with him politically at all, but nevertheless gave a very studied performance, to the extent that Dominic Cummings' wife, when they had Benedict Cumberbatch over to dinner, said that there was a mirror image of her husband at the dinner table, because Benedict Cumberbatch was able at supper to act as Dominic Cummings in front of him, mirroring him, much like this we see two Olivers here before us. There we go. Yes, middle distance. Rushmore. Think Rushmore.
Oh, what, Mount Rushmore?
Yes.
The picture, right?
But also the movie, which tells us about it. So, Linklater, was it Linklater? Anyway, no, it was Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson. The Brexit Uncivil War. You must see it. It's on the internet. It's an hour and a half or so drama dramatizing the Brexit campaign won by Dominic Cummings with the aid of Boris Johnson. Now that political double act has been the powerhouse politically in Britain since about March 2016. First behind the scenes, and then in front and center since the 12th of December 2019, when the new Boris Johnson, since like July, since Boris Johnson went into number 10 in July 2019, It's become like a year and a half. We had a year and a half of Dominic Cummings on the front and centre of British politics. There's this double act with Boris.
Yeah.
Before that, he was behind the scenes. But this double act has been the key to what's happened in this country for the past 5 years at least.
Yeah.
So
but yeah, I mean, the thing is, but COVID is dominated everything for the last year, and COVID a globalist trick?
Yes.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. It does make sense.
Well, people don't die
at
at Trump rallies. People don't die at Trump rallies, nor do they die at Black Lives Matter protests, nor do they die at celebratory celebrations for the pseudo victory of the Biden-Harris ticket.
They only die
dancing in the streets.
They only die at older than average age of dying.
Well, all those 90-year-olds who've been granny farmed in the old people's homes. Maybe it was the registration forms for the over 90-yearolds that the Democrat operatives were giving out.
Dead, they can't be proved. They can't be questioned
exactly as to whether they voted or who they voted for, or who held the pen when they signed. Or
what do they look like? The person who told you to which box and sit.
Yeah, exactly. So this is all coming out. This is all coming out now, as you see on the Gateway Pundit, and we should follow the Gateway Pundit because that's actually showing you the live tickers, and you can go into some more detail there about what state is where in what count, and what state has what challenges to what ballots in what counties. Like, it drills into the detail, and it's a live feed. There is the place where you can find what's going on in the world today, apart from this Cummings thing, which I haven't even caught up with yet. So let's just read it. Cummings and his ally Lee Kane, both ardent Brexiteers, blamed by MPs for a macho culture and a series of communications crises, were asked to step down on Friday instead of staying in place until Christmas. Ed sends his apologies. He can't be here. He'll be here for the next show.
He will be here.
He will be here for the next. He can't be here tonight, unfortunately. So he hasn't been able to get over town because we're living in Mad Max Thunderdome, and London is no longer safe to be out in the streets at night. One source, one source said, here's the mainstream media bit of fancy footwork saying what they want to say, but putting it in the mouth of an anonymous person. One source said the Prime Minister told Cummings to go following accusations he had briefed against Johnson. Special advisors were said to be delighted by his departure. The Prime Minister was immediately urged to appoint an MP as his permanent chief of staff to help heal deep divisions with backbenchers amid warnings that his parliamentary party risked becoming ungovernable. Sir Edward Lister, Johnson's chief strategic advisor, would become interim chief of staff until there was a permanent appointment, Number 10 said. Cummings and Kane will continue to work for Downing Street until mid-December, with one source saying Cummings would be, quote, working from home for 6 weeks. The turmoil comes in the middle of a pandemic whose official UK death toll surpassed 50,000 this week, and days from a looming Brexit deal deadline. On Friday morning, now this is where the Biden-Trump thing comes in. One of the reasons that Cummings may have hightailed it out of there is because he doesn't believe that Trump is going to achieve a second term. And Biden is pro-EU, globalism, and Great Reset. He's pro-IRA. And yeah, he's like the biggest sponsor of the IRA in America.
That's right. He's an Irish gangster. He's the Irish gangster family. Yes. So where did I read that?
But he's
like the Kennedys and co. They're Irish.
Yeah.
It's like
Tammany Hall. It's called Tammany Hall.
Okay.
There's the old democratic Irish establishment from the 19th century who used to get dead people to vote in elections in the 19th century. The Democrat Party are famed for two things: for slavery in the South, and for the history of the Democratic Party pre-Second World War. No, pre-FDR, pre-1933. In 1930, Franklin Delano Roosevelt came to power as president for the Democrats and changed with the New Deal after the stock market crash, the great crash of 1929, when you had a Republican rule for a long time. FDR, Roosevelt, came to the presidency for 3 terms. He was running for his 4th term when he died of complications of polio in the Second World War. Roosevelt completely changed the narrative of American politics forever, because the Democrat Party had been the party of the South, of the Confederacy, and of slavery, and of the cotton aristocracy. Dixiecrats were the kingmakers in the Democratic Party up until the 1970s.
This is what that D'Souza bloke talks about, isn't it? Who's that? Dinesh D'Souza.
Oh yes, I have not really engaged with him yet, but he seems really intriguing.
He talks about like the Democrats as the
Democrats are the party of Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah. But that's not what you'd, if you listen to. Well, if I haven't heard that. I mean, I'm sure Dinesh D'Souza is correct. His argument is correct. You know, people who are good at arguing are good at convincing you of anything. Yeah, it's like the mainstream media would have you believe that isn't the case. But Dinesh D'Souza, with his very objective and careful language, argues the other side.
So overlaid. So we have this idea of the political spectrum, right? Left to right.
Yeah.
And then we can look at a graph of x-axis left to right. That's left and right. Politically, in terms of political affiliation on a political spectrum, is left to right. I think that's right. Left to right in the camera.
No, it will be fine. That was only for.
Oh, that's for the double.
Yeah.
No. Okay. No, you're right. I'm getting too mixed up.
Don't mix up right. Carry on.
So, a political spectrum left and right.
Yeah.
Then perhaps a y-axis up and down on our graph could be libertarian and authoritarian.
Okay.
So then you have an idea about whether you're siding with the rich on the right or the poor and the worker on the left. And then whether you want to do that in a way that promotes human freedom with liberalism, libertarianism, or a way that establishes government control with authoritarianism. So because this is our political spectrum: left, right, up and down. Up is liberal, libertarian. Down is totalitarian, authoritarian.
Yeah.
So you have dictators, you've got anarchists, you've got communists, you've got Democrats, you've got Christian Democrats, Social Democrats. All these different people can appear on this graph matrix, which we'll draw out for you. Not backwards at the moment because it's getting to my head. So why is this important? Well, because overlaid on this graph, so if you see there's a graph, you see there's a graph of left and right, and then liberal and authoritarian. Overlaid on this graph at any place or time is a concept called the Overton window. So
I saw that on the box.
So the Overton window. So our graph. You see the square on our graph. It's not a swastika. If you see the square on our graph, it's not a Christian sign. There's no politics here, apart from that inside this, all the possibilities of political thought. Inside, like you've got this whole space here of all the possible political.
And your Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh no!
No, it's fine. So I'm not going to put anything on. I'm just showing what the Overton window is. So here's our left-right political axis, and here's our liberal authoritarian political axis, right? So we've got x-axis and y-axis. So in this graph space, you've got all the possible political views and viewpoints and positions, literally positions on the graph. What is the Overton window? The Overton window is in this space of all the possibilities. Maybe Stalin is up here, Hitler is up here. Oh, sorry, no, Stalin is down here, Hitler is down here. Maybe
Frank Zappa's up there.
Frank Zappa's up here, and Ludwig von Mises. These are the Chicago School economists are up here. Whatever. So right, left, authoritarian, liberal, whatever. So of all of the possibilities, there isn't a Hitler in America today. There isn't a Stalin. So you don't. So these parts of the graph don't have anyone in there, right? And maybe there's no radical. Maybe there is, but there's no radical anarchist party. And so there are areas of that potential of ideas where there's not really a debate over that. right now in this place at this time. So the Overton window is saying, okay, you've got all of the possible political ideas ever, and then in this place at this time, what are the ones that are in the conversation? So perhaps in Britain, there's not really a Socialist Workers' Party. In Britain, there's not really a Nazi party. So those positions, distinct as they are outside the Overton window of the things that there is some kind of
representation of
market for. There's some kind of political market, some stall. People sat at a stall in the political marketplace. There's some demand or some supply and demand in the political marketplace for these particular ideas. So the edges, or the concept is you lay an Overton window over this potential, and you can see what's in this time and place actually present. So the Overton window of American mainstream electoral politics for the past 100 years or so has been far to the right in terms of our political spectrum of all of the positions in, say, Europe and Britain. So the leftmost person in America, say a member in mainstream politics, say a member of the Democratic Party, like Bernie Sanders or Franklin Delano Roosevelt or John F. Kennedy, is very far to the right of a Jeremy Corbyn, who's a left person in Britain, or a Tony Benn, or a Ken Livingstone. So the Overton window of America on the left stops long before it stops in Europe, and on the right, the Bush neocons were far to the right of John Major or Margaret Thatcher, let's say, because they had a much more expansive view of American imperial dominance in the Middle East. So why is the Overton window an interesting concept? Because it moves over time, and it moves in ways that we don't always appreciate when we're not there, either in time or in place. So we can think of our political spectrum.
If a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it. If the Overton window
smashes
moves,
by somebody casting the first stone who lives in a glass house. Is anyone there to hear it? So
if no one's on the streets, is anyone there to see them being stolen from us by the deep state?
No, that's why there's Mad Max Thunderdome out there. Yeah. That's why we're wearing gas masks to seem scary in the streets so people don't accost us. And also to stay healthy. Not because of a virus, but because of particulates from car exhausts, which are very bad for you.
Thank you, the council.
Yeah. Oh yes, your special air fuckener. Yeah.
This is literally a bunker with an air filter.
Yes, so we're perfect. Sleepy Joe Biden.
Yeah, we are Sleepy Joe.
We're going to have carbon monoxide poisoning in the Sleepy Joe Biden bunker, but it's going to be filtered out because of the because of Westminster. Is Westminster Camden Council? Is it local planning laws, Camden Council?
Oh no, well, the Clean Air Act.
Oh, it's
all
national.
About the particulate numbers.
Yeah. So P3, gas masks or respirators, 3M style respirators for biochem hazards, either CBRN, which is nuclear hazards, like gas mask,
nuclear radiation.
or the kind of respirators you see in like building sites for spray painting or in asbestos cleaning and so on. So you have the more 3M style respirator mask. Any of these filters, P3 filter gets rid of all the particulates of pollution in the streets and of viruses down to like 3 microns or whatever. Point.
Are you advocating mask wearing?
I'm not advocating paper mask or cloth mask wearing. I'm advocating P3 gas mask filter wearing.
Are you leapfrogging
yes
Joe Biden and going straight to
because that's reasonable. That's if you're actually interested in your pulmonary health. Walking around the polluted streets of a major metropolis, or cycling, or doing exercise.
Don't virtue signal with a.
Don't virtue no. Wear a P3 NATO 40mm filter on a gas mask or on a 3M style proper full face or half face respirator. Then you're actually protecting your lungs from viruses, bacteria, and carbon monoxide.
Viruses can't get through a respirator filter.
No, not the P3. You're looking for P3. There's lots of different.
So that would be the biological. Warfare.
Yeah. That's so essentially it's paper. It's like paper and charcoal.
Charcoal, yeah.
Just filters. and it's so fine that these particles get stuck in them, and they're reusable. And the other good thing about that we're looking into here at the New Athens with P3 filters is not only if you're exercising outdoors and you're in a polluted environment like a city, you will avoid particulate inhalation when you're exercising. Go deep in the lungs, create broken alveoli, which creates cancer, which creates all the pulmonary issues we've seen with COVID, with glass shards, like crystalline glass shards in the lungs, which destroy, like asbestos is the best example, which destroy the alveoli and create cancers. But also, the other effect of wearing a proper respirator, proper P3 gas mask in while exercising is Joe Rogan and all these guys, say supermen, super Iron Men in terms of exercise, love to go to high altitude and exercise in low oxygen environments at high altitudes. Now, how can you replicate that on the ground? Well, if you're wearing a not a paper or a cloth mask, but if you're wearing a real respirator, you're getting clean air because it's being filtered by your inward breath, but you're getting less oxygen, and your body, in response under stress, under load, then increases the pulmonary capacity of the lungs. So you get stronger lungs through exercising through a proper CBRN gas mask filter. So if you want to train at sea level, you're not rich enough, like Joe Rogan, to go into a mountain to do some like rowing or whatever, hunting, running around a forest.
Run around with weights
yes, heavy hands. You can do heavy hands. No, yeah, I used to do heavy hands. I got really fit doing heavy hands. I spent one summer, I just like pumping. It was like 3 kilograms, but 3K dumbbells. I got so fit and ripped. Most fit I've ever been. I've now lost it, but I'm slowly getting it back. But no,
gas mark. Here we go. Aaron Hook has said, "I've got a World War II British Army gas mask. I'll wear it tomorrow to the corner shop. Their reaction should be interesting."
You need a filter in it. If you want the health benefits, you've got to get a P3 filter. They're about 20 quid on eBay, Amazon.
He's got a good point here. Wearing it, he'll be safe from Kung Flu.
Yes,
he might die of asbestos poisoning.
Only if you get the older Soviet, filters, which actually have a slightly different mount. It's sometimes compatible with the 40mm NATO mount, but I think GRN, I can't remember the acronym, but if you look at the old Soviet filters, they often have asbestos in, which will kill you, even despite you're trying not to die of the other things. But never, if you get a gas mask, do not get Soviet. Do not get Soviet filters, because that will. No, the mask is fine. Wear an old Russian mask, but don't get the filters that fit in, unless it can also take 40mm NATO filters, because they don't have asbestos. Fun fact.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're talking about something. Overton windows and glasses. People dying.
So a quick recap on Overton Window for the layman.
So,
AKB. I'm gonna recite it, and now if I get it wrong at any point, let me know if I'm wrong. The Overton Window. You've got a graph, left to right, political spectrum, up and down, authoritarian at the bottom, libertarian at the top, and then the Overton Window describes what demand and supplies there are of each authoritarian, left-wing, authoritarian.
Each stand in the political marketplace.
Each point on the political matrix.
In your time and place.
Okay.
So
for instance, there's no one with Hitler's ideas at the moment who
has any
got
popularity or attention at all anywhere.
But in 1930s, there was no. Who was there? Who have we got now? Who wasn't around in the 30s?
The Green Party.
Yeah,
Green Party. Right. Yeah. There's no demand for
the new woke left. There wasn't.
Yeah.
There was.
There wasn't enough wealth for the woke left. Right? Was it not? Is it about wealth?
The most interesting analysis of this, I thought, came from Kanye West on Joe Rogan podcast a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
He said, and I thought it was really, really impressive in terms of the insight, which I never even realized was there in the matrix, in the political matrix. So There was a woke movie made called Black Panther,
Oh yeah, I heard about this.
which was so it was a mainstream Hollywood superhero like Marvel movie.
Right.
I think Marvel.
They owned by China,
They're owned by China, but so it's a Hollywood movie by Marvel called Black Panther. Now, it was sold by Hollywood as a massively popular commercial
Jay Shonica, are you saying yes?
franchise.
Manthar, what's it called? Marvel.
Yes.
Jay, are you saying yes that Marvel are owned by China?
Yeah, let's see what Jay has to say.
Let's see what Jay says. Or was that yes an answer to a different question or statement?
Or was it just approbation or agreement in general with the topic and something?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
The
Yes!
portrait is good. Yes, we can. No comment. So what Kanye had to say was that a Hollywood movie was marketed heavily to.
Thanks. That's fucking helpful, Jay. Cheers.
You may very well think so, but I couldn't possibly comment.
Yeah.
As Frank Underwood or Francis Urquhart would have said, depending on whether you're going for Ian Richardson,
the 90s or the noughties,
or the 80s, or the 80s or the teens.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
80s or teens.
Yeah.
Ian Richardson or
Kevin Spacey. I like Kevin Spacey.
He's wonderful. He's
a great actor.
Wonderful actor. Great man.
A bit of a
I think he has a problem. We have a friend who knows he has a problem. But
Black Panther is a Marvel, Jay says.
Great. Okay, so it is Marvel. So
no, it is a Marvel. Lowercase m. He's marvelous.
No, he may be. He was There's the ambiguity of the poetic line. Anyway, so there was a Marvel movie. There was a comic that was written in response to. Okay. There was a Marvel movie called Black Panther released. I think it was 2018, 2019. Mainstream Hollywood movie. And it was marketed heavily to a black audience because the plot was that, like Al Kemet, like ancient Egypt, there was a secret valley, a Shangri-La in Africa somewhere, where an advanced tech society of the ancient Egyptians had survived.
Oh, this is what
the plot of the Black Panther movie.
Yeah,
So there's this idea that in a Marvel fantasy universe that ancient Egypt survived in a secret valley in Ethiopia, maybe Ghana, somewhere hidden in the mountains in Africa was the ancient flying cars, anti-gravity, tech civilization with superheroes of ancient Egypt. And then we see Jay's calling. And so what was interesting, hey Jay, what was interesting that Kanye West had to say about this was the name Black Panther was meant to SEO. And so if you looked on Google as a person who's not aware of the history of the 20th century in America, you don't see the Black Panther movement of the 1960s and 70s about black energy liberation from drugs, liberation from segregation, liberation from.
You just see
a
popcorn movie.
Yeah, you just see a popcorn movie about fantasy people, which is irrelevant to the real struggle of people trying to emancipate themselves in the 1960s and 70s. And that's why the CIA brought in crack and heroin into the black community to destroy
the
black youth energy. Hey Jay, how are you?
How are you doing?
I don't know if we can hear you on the stream. I'm going to put you up to the. Can you zoom in?
Yeah, I can zoom in.
Okay, can you zoom because we're on the speakerphone on my phone. It's like not as loud as the.
Yeah.
Just zoom in.
Zoom me. Send me a link.
Okay.
Here we go. Here. Aaron Hook says Black Panther is a strange film. It has all the bells and whistles of wokery, whilst the core of the plot is a defense of the divine right of kings and absolute monarchy, which is what World Trade Organization. What's it called? What's the nasty German called? What's his name?
Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum.
World Economic Forum. So Klaus Schwab wants to be the king of the Black Panther. He wants. Well, I mean, absolute divine right of kings, absolute monarchy. That's what Schwab's all about, isn't it? Fucking hell, Dan, that is coming on.
We're no longer anywhere near Kanye West, Keanu Reeves. We've moved on from Keanu now.
So like,
I can't see. I'm so close to this. I can't see anything apart from like miniature brushstrokes at this point.
It's like a bit like Peter O'Toole now. There's a little
lucky Peter.
There's a little bit of Peter O'Toole. Can you see? There's a long island, like from the aristocrat. What is it? The ruling class we saw the other day.
Oh yeah.
Was it Philip showed us the?
Yeah.
Here's Jay. Let's see if we can find Jay. Hey. Jay Udomi, everybody. Unmute.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hey,
nice
how
hat.
are you?
Nice hat you're wearing.
Nice, yes.
That's not a hat, it's a lampshade.
You're
It does
culturally,
look a bit
you're
like
culturally
a,
appropriating that fez.
Exactly, it looks a bit
The
like
Ottomans. This is an Ottoman appropriation. In fact, Ataturk wouldn't like it. He banned the fez.
They wore them in Egypt.
Yeah, exactly. So, obviously, if you're talking about Ataturk's pre-Ataturk or post-Ataturk, because post-Ataturk, Ataturk wanted to move the Turkish identity away from the fez.
The Overton Window,
make
yes.
It all about,
he wanted to move
make
the
it all
Overton Window.
about industrialization and a modern society.
Yes.
So he wanted to kill their history.
Yeah, they wanted to kill the Ottoman, the Ottoman influences and Islamic influences.
You didn't like the
for a
fez?
secular republic.
The fez.
So Turkey, Turkey was the first secular republic in a Muslim majority population, and led the way after 1918. So Ataturk was a secular liberation Republican, a bit like Yasser Arafat. Yasser Arafat was a lot of people in Palestine were Islamic by either culture or religion, but Yasser Arafat was a freedom fighter who was a political freedom fighter. He was not an Islamic crusader.
Okay. Sorry, I'm moving things.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, you were saying, Jay.
Yes, so go on.
We started talking.
We were talking about Black Panther.
Yeah, and Kanye's astonishing takedown of how it was being used to mask on the first page of Google any reference to actual Black liberation with the Black Panther movement.
I'm not sure if Kanye's. I think that might be more a happy accident than a specific plan, because the Black Panther comic originally, when it was created by Spike Lee and co.
You know about the source material.
Yeah, so the source material was originally not Spike Lee, Stan Lee, sorry. Because I mean the creators at Marvel Comics were always what in the 70s and 60s would be known as commies. They always were very
Reds under the bed, pinko, bleeding heart, pinko.
However, they still wrote comics that showcased Red Fear, because obviously Hydra was supposed to be the Communist Party and Russia infiltrating the US, which is represented by what are they called? SHIELD. Obviously, there's a lot of symbolism there. But the Black Panther comic was written as a specific reaction to the rise of the Black Panther movement. And what actually happened at the time was that there was a lot of there's a film film sector called blaxploitation. So it used a lot of the blaxploitation stereotypes. So a lot of the characters in it had afros and so on and so forth. A lot of the stuff that they had in
Tarantino takes off that a lot.
Shaft.
Yes, it does.
It's a whole genre.
He actually made a film that was an homage to blaxploitation, which is Jackie Brown.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
One of my father's favorite movies.
Have you seen Black Dynamite? They made it into a cartoon.
Yes,
and Nixon and Kissinger
Black Dynamite is terrible.
Yeah, but the cartoon is ridiculous because Nixon and Kissinger are plotting to annihilate the black community in the 70s.
You mean the cartoon rather than the actual?
Yeah.
You know
That's what actually happened.
Well, no, but it's ridiculous. So Nixon is the arch villain, and Black Dynamite is the blaxploitation kind of hero with the afro who's doing kung fu. It's just so bizarre. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a cartoon like a book or like a film?
No, there's a TV show called Black Dynamite as well.
Okay, let's watch it. I'd like to see that.
But in terms of the Marvel situation, so Black Panther and one of the reasons that it was always a bit of a paradox was exactly what's just been said, which is that it was the Black Panther movement itself was supposed to be about reconnecting the the sort of descendants of the slaves with their African heritage. But the fundamental thing about African heritage is that in Africa, the divine right of kings has always been there. So in a way, by creating a movement that's supposed to destabilize a centralized government, you then have it being personified by a person who is an absolute monarch.
Yes.
Because
I understand.
T'Challa, who is the actual person who is the Black Panther, he's also the king of Wakanda.
So
and he is an absolute monarch.
He's Neo or Jesus or the Messiah. He's like this sort of hero savior of prophecy. Is it like one of these things?
Yes.
Yes. It's like a Jesus or a Neo.
To go back to what you were saying about Kanye West's points, I don't think that.
It's that sophisticated.
I just can't subscribe to some grand
SEO narrative
over plan. Yeah, like yes, realistically, the logical thing if you're going to release a film is to try and smash the SEO so that film comes up first, and regardless of whatever anyone searches. Now, the reality is that yes, the Black Panther film was made at a point in Hollywood where there was a big rise towards the positive representation of Black people on the screen, and it was just what you call a cellar door situation where the right things happened, and serendipitously the right people were in the right place at the right time, making the right film in an age where the internet and promotional use of the internet was able to make that film one of the highest grossing films of all time, which then changed Hollywood's view towards making movies with Black people as the protagonists. Because beforehand, the idea was that they couldn't make a major Hollywood blockbuster with a Black protagonist because it wouldn't sell so well. That was always the excuse. So what Black Panther did was it actually changed that paradigm. And it also was the fact that what it did, one of the reasons it did that as well is because you had a whole group of people that had grown up with that comic who are now at a position where they were in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, who are now the sort of decision makers, so on and so forth. So it was just, and also the fact that Disney bought Marvel, which meant that they had loads of money and they were able to pump loads of money into it and actually capitalize on the situation. Whereas Kanye West's point about that being a woke takeover of the Black Panther concept is, I think...
Well, it's not so much a woke takeover, actually a neoconservative masquerading as woke takeover.
Takeover. I just don't... I don't think that there is...
Going back to Dan's point about Kissinger being the architect of the takedown of Black energy with crack and heroin to get rid of the original Black Panther movement and break Black families in America and and put aside any chance of racial revolution. And what the other thing Kanye said that was interesting was that he thought that the solution to racial tensions in America was a Black nation inside the United States, so that Black people in the United States would have the opportunity to be dual citizens of a Black nation with the United States.
That's segregation.
And citizens of the United States.
So what about Jewish people?
It's giving an additional a union. No, it's like unionization.
No, that's not a good idea.
Which would then
that's segregation in practice.
Well,
So basically, you're gonna because okay, look, are the white people, are the Hispanic people also gonna have like their own union? You're gonna racially divide the country.
From Kanye's point of view, is he can't look after those people. He just wants to look after Black people. He's not saying they shouldn't be or should be. He's saying that if he's able to create a system that allows them to look after the rights of Black people, not segregating them in any way, it's just basically like them being dual citizens.
Yes.
So they're citizens of the USA and they're citizens. It's exactly like what I was talking about, Lorenzo, but not
this is what we've been looking at for the New Athens, and you've been looking at it with your notion of Black Panthers too. I think it's a great name. Is this idea of a smart city built inside the cities that exist? You don't need to demolish anything. You don't need to be oppositional. What we can say is we can have additional rights. We can confer ourselves additional rights and additional responsibilities if we want to be part of this union, which is parallel to, not in competition with, the states and polities that exist now. So if we could become, say, new Athenians, then we could grant one another rights that we share and protect with one another, independent of where we're located in the world.
Where am I going? What happened there?
Oh, I think Prey has joined us again. Prey is.
I did join you again. Hi guys, how are you doing?
How are you? Prey, Jay, You're both musicians.
Hey, Prey.
How's it going?
I'm good. I'm just gonna hold on. Let me. How do I go on thingy view? Oh my God.
How do you get that triple view?
Yeah, I want to get it on.
We can go on some kind of triple view somewhere. How do we do that?
You need a double view.
View? There we go. Is a view, gallery view. There we go.
Gallery view is all I want. No, but I haven't got it on my
Now
thing.
we're on gallery view on the show stream.
We're toggling back and forth between you guys.
There we go. If you get rid of the picture.
Hang on.
So we'll work it out. Pray, it's the middle of the day there in LA,
Beautiful Southern California,
and it's a rainy night here in London. And Jay, you're in Scotland.
It's not so. It's not so rainy, but it is night in Aberdeen.
Aberdeen, okay. What's Aberdeen like? How long have you been there?
It's a few weeks.
Are you in the town or in the? Are you in urban or rural?
Oil rig.
Urban.
Urban.
Super urban.
Downtown Aberdeen.
Aberdeen.
Yeah.
Downtown Aberdeen.
Drinking breakfast.
So
where is Aberdeen? I forgot.
it's in Scotland. It's in the middle of Scotland.
Aberdeen in Texas.
Paris is also in Texas. Memphis is in Tennessee and in Egypt.
It's the North Sea oil town.
St. Petersburg also.
Florida.
You could be a Texan. I don't know. Who knows where people are these days? It's amazing.
Joe Rogan's become a Texan.
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't be nighttime in Texas right now.
Are you guys all buddies with Martin?
Yes, we know. Yeah, we all know and care for Martin. Martin is in a meeting, I believe. Okay. He always
probably with a girl.
Often. Meetings occur on an hourly basis, or even
He's a meter, but that's how we all met, so that's good. He's an amazing connector, isn't he?
He's a wonderful man.
Very true.
And we do love him dearly. Shout out to Martin Skinner with his fuck COVID new movement. Let's see here. So Jay, you were saying we what do you make of the US election? Who's going to be president on the 20th of January, Jay? Actually, both of you. Who do you think is going to be president inaugurated? Is Mike Pompeo right in saying we'll have a smooth, peaceful transition to a second Trump administration? Or is Joe Biden president-elect right? Or is he a criminal having broken the Logan Act, pretending to be the government when he is actually not the government yet?
Well, even if... Sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, we have all the energy. They don't have any energy.
Yeah, it was a negative campaign.
They have bullied them. I was enjoying reading about what you were saying about Black Panther, that is a defense of the rights of kings. And, America was based on, we were all Englishmen once, My great-great-grandfather spent, George Washington was an Englishman.
You were Englishman and Frenchman as well.
So
if you look at this, the full state.
As an American, I'm both. I'm French and English. And
do you know why? Do you know
Swedish and Norwegian? And but we're just a mixed bag, right? But what I mean to say when I say Englishman, I mean the brotherhood of the thought life of people who are thinking about what it is to be free men. Right?
He was English barristers.
There we go.
Yeah. So that's all I mean by saying we were all Englishmen once.
George Washington started a world war. Pedantic. George Washington in 1753, as a mid-ranking British soldier, George Washington started as the 7 Years' War, which was the world war of the era, by accidentally, on purpose, shooting a French diplomat in a forest in like Delaware somewhere, or Ohio. I think it was Ohio, when Ohio was entirely forested.
I think it was upstate New York. If I'm correct.
Yeah, there we go. And somewhere around there. And so he came upon a patrol of Frenchmen as a British soldier. That then started a conflagration around the world between France and Britain, both in America, Canada, across in India and Southeast Asia, and in Europe. 7 Years' War. And then, of course, George Washington was fired as a British soldier for having started the World War. And so that's how he became a disgruntled
World War Zero.
Yeah, World War Zero. That's how he became a disgruntled land surveyor, who then had military experience to come and make the Continental Army. Because he got fired for starting a war when he was a young man.
So this is no longer.
Well, at the point of talking about the divine rights of kings versus the freedom of the individual, I'm only saying that in regards to this current election, there is going to be resistance here for sure. There's going to be riots.
Whoever wins.
There's no way that we can allow the presidency to go under the hands of these criminals. It's not going to. The U.S. military won't allow it.
So it's your firm belief that the election was gamed by the Democratic Party, and in fact Trump won the popular vote, and there was perhaps vote farming or false ballot counting.
It's my firm belief that it's gamed by the Democrat Party is just an arm of a global conspiracy of people who hold the gates of power, and all of the votes are going. They're telling us that they're going to Barcelona. It's a Canadian company that owns Dominion. Guys like John Brennan, the CIA guy, and Clapper, and all of them are in on the conspiracy, and they want to win big. They want
to Islam.
It all goes back to the board game Risk, if you really look at it.
Is John Brennan? Did John Brennan convert to Islam while he was destroying the Middle East?
I don't give a shit.
He did, I think. That was really weird.
No, but yeah, they say that. Yeah, but I don't mean to.
Anyway, so Jay, what's your prediction? Who's going to be inaugurated on January the 20th?
I don't have enough information to make a prediction. However, I will agree with what Prey says, that whoever is there on that day, it will never be a smooth transition, no matter what happens.
Okay, so Ish's prediction last week was Ishmael Malik, our blockchain guru here at the New Athens. His prediction was there will be no significant violence. That there will be a smooth, whichever way it goes, it will end up being a smooth transition.
But either way, it won't be smooth. Already.
Sorry, guys. Are you guys following the Q map stuff? And the
yes.
drops?
Yes. Well, Jay, what's your view of QAnon?
Not enough information.
You may very well think so, but I couldn't possibly comment.
No, it's not even about no comment. It's more that I don't know enough to be able to make a comment.
Oh, okay. I get it.
It's worth checking out. It's just information, really. I mean, you can make up your own mind about it, but it's basically just linking all of the players worldwide and not letting them kind of wiggle out. What they do is they give us all these rabbit holes to go down, and then we're discussing all these things that are true, but they're not really effective. And what the Q drop is about somebody in the intelligence community realized that the whole, the writing history is important, that it is important that we know the chain of events and that we can identify our enemies. And our enemies are not American or English or French. It's an ideological war, really. It's a thought war.
Yeah, exactly.
Transnational.
Yeah. So that's
post-national.
It's not just
the English system that created America. Yeah. The English system that created America. From our standpoint,
there are actors. Yeah, go on, Fraser.
No. No, I mean, I'm in LA. I know about actors. I want to hear about the actors.
I said there are actors. There are actors on, and I don't mean actors as in
thesps.
I know what you mean.
I mean actors. There are actors in this play that are well hidden from the general point of view, and those actors have specific needs and specific wants. and they will always do whatever benefits those specific needs and specific wants. It doesn't matter about what country or what race or whatever. Those are all smokescreens for the real land grabs that are happening. There are, as Lorenzo and I have discussed before, there's also a land grab for digital sovereignty and digital rights and digital assets that's happening well behind the scenes that a lot of people aren't, I suppose, party to. And what is really happening, what's sort of the worst part of all this, is that people's sovereign rights are being eroded with all kinds of laws being passed. And this is not happening in one country, this is happening all around the world. Whilst everyone's being sort of everyone's attention is being diverted one way, there are other things that are happening also with the right hand that are going to be detrimental for the future sovereign rights of the individual.
Yes.
And unless we come together and actually fight against that, then, you know, it's going to be a very bleak future.
Well, exactly.
For the sort of average man.
We've left ourselves so late in the game to have a great awakening. Like, we're almost the Great Reset, Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum and all these guys. Their plan is coming. Is all the parts are locking into the gun, and you know, and the site is being lined up, and we're nowhere. Like, we're just in an open top, you know, sedan driving along in Dallas. You know, on a November morning, in an open top car. You know, that's, you know, we're Jack Kennedy, and the deep state, the globalists they've assembled the rifle. They're in the book depository, and they're lining up the sights on our skull, and like we're still sitting in a car, waving.
Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy.
I think that's true for a lot of the world. I think that there's also a truth that the reality is that the American government, like the election of Donald Trump, was a military operation. And that what they did was Hillary was going to use the Dominion and the hammer and the scorecard to win that election. That's why she was so shocked, because she thought she had it. But what they did was they tipped it in the favor of the truth. Trump actually won the popular vote last time also. That was all bullshit. But in reality, most people here that are thinking people understand what's at stake. So we're in America, there's a lot of movement toward, like, for instance, I went to go vote in West Hollywood, which is an extremely liberal area, and I wore this hat, but I walked into the voting booth like this.
Oh, I saw a picture of you like that on election day. I thought it was like the Sith Emperor.
And when I came out, I was on the street and I met 4 people, and I was just curious what they'd say. So I went like this, and they all cheered, and they understood what it was. And I said, "Well, why are you for Trump?" And they said, "Well, because we love our country and we love people." And they were all for. One of them was a Canadian. They all know what's going on. You know, if we have an illusion of a free and fair election, then we're screwed. And so that's why what I understand from the people that I'm getting information here is the reason Trump let the election go forward and let them put the steel on is because they had a sting operation going, and they've been following these people for 4 years, and they have all the information
of granny farming, of ballot harvesting, of
and so
of dead people voting,
these people are going to get caught with their pants down.
So essentially, as far as I understand it, the major operation has been to get Democratic operatives into election official positions over the past 4 years. Oh, Jay got a call, everyone. He had to drop out. He got a call in his phone.
Well, not the last 4 years. Since they blew away Kennedy on national television, they've been taking over.
Who was a Democrat? And so you can see the deep state has mixed parties. You know, it uses the party that it finds most useful at the time.
Yeah, it's not about Democrats and Republicans. Yes. This is about people who believe that humanity should continue, and those who say, well, it's overpopulated, so we need to get rid of people.
Yeah.
And there's literally been convincing people on the street that, well, there's too much population. And it's like, yeah, but dude, you realize that they're talking about getting rid of us, right? They're not talking about getting rid of themselves.
It's half a billion, isn't it? On the Georgia Guidestones, which we featured on the show before, which are outside Atlanta on a hillside, is Stonehenge, modern Stonehenge, created in the late 80s, early 90s by a Rosicrucian donor, so-called in the plaque, with dedications in all the great languages of the world and ancient Greek, Aramaic, Latin, ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, and Coptic, and so on. So you have ancient languages and modern languages, and these giant stone tablets in a Georgia hillside, which were magicked overnight, made of granite and aligned to the stars, like Stonehenge or the pyramids. They appeared in the mid-80s. There's a public monument. You can go see it now. And it has written the new 10 Commandments.
Oh, yeah, the big monolith somewhere in America.
Yeah, it's just outside Atlanta. And the first commandment of the new globalist 10 Commandments, they had reduce the population to 500 million. Now, if there's 8 billion people on the planet, that's 15, 16.
You've got a 1 in 16 chance of
being in that group, in the survivor group. And they're not taking out the birth rate. They're not saying we just need to lower. They do say we need to lower the birth rate. They're trying to sterilize people. If you see our friend of the show, who is working now with the government in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, he's not a conspiracy theorist. He's not a globalist per se. He's an Oxford man. He's Oxford PPE, who's now in blockchain, working in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, and he calling me from Addis during this year. He said, "Oh, I've got a story for you, Lorenzo. You know that everyone here knows that Bill Gates is Dr. Mengele and there's a cross between Dr. Mengele and the Heart of Darkness. He's in Africa giving sterilization and cancer shots to African children in Mengele style, so-called vaccination programs. He was kicked out of India. His Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was kicked out of India for giving children, for poisoning children and sterilizing people with the so-called vaccine programs. This was independent verification from somebody who's not politically committed to Bill Gates being a demon, but nevertheless, from African government sources and African community sources, being a man who's half Irish, half Ethiopian, Oxford graduate, now works in tech with the government in Addis Ababa. No horse in the race with regard to globalists versus populists in the Trump versus new Great Reset kind of game of risk, as Prey says. He doesn't have a horse in that race, and he told me, yes, the Heart of Darkness is Bill Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in the Congo. That's the Heart of Darkness. That Dr. Mengele today.
Heart of Darkness. That's
Conrad.
Yeah,
Conrad. It was the book on which Apocalypse Now.
100 years before.
Yes, that was cutting off Leopold II, King of Belgium, cutting off the hands, left hands of the Congolese, the rubber plantations to make rubber from the sap of trees.
Of course, people make trains, isn't it?
So that was interesting point of independent verification. You have people who are just have their ear to the ground, who are listening, and I want to listen to you. Like, what do you see as likely to occur in the coming 3 months, quarter? What's the next quarter from today look like for you in terms of what's happening in America?
For me,
yeah.
Well, so I've been fortunate to have some insight into what goes on in American politics, because I actually went to high school with the guy who's the mayor of LA.
Oh yeah.
And as soon as he went to Oxford University instead of Cal State Northridge or CSLA, I kind of was like, well, what are you doing? Like, there is a globalist movement in LA, and the school districts have been taken over. They're teaching, that you shouldn't really be proud of being where you're from, and that you're a bad person, really. And what's going to happen in the next few weeks is that all of this evidence that you see Giuliani and Trump bringing out is going to come into the courts, and there's not going to be really anywhere for the bad guys to go because they're all going to get caught on video and tape, and they have the sting going with the election. They know where the votes went.
So you're with the QAnon view that the deplorable movement that the Trump high command allowed the vote to be gamed by the Democrats in order to entrap and sting all of the fraud, all of the vote fraud, so that this can be prosecuted and the responsible parties
basically that
unmasked.
End the game once and for all. Once you end the game, they're doing it in America.
So you got to lose to win. So essentially, Trump decided he's got to lose. He's got to bankrupt himself. He's a bankruptcy merchant, right? It's as a financial tool. He's a bankruptcy merchant. He bounces off the bottom to come back. That's what his career has been about in business. He's like lost to win bigger. He bounced down, and so that's perhaps what he's decided to do here.
Use their game against them.
Yeah,
their game is obvious to everybody in the world. I mean, everybody knows that America is not, in its conception, was not meant to be going and bombing other countries to get what we want. That's not who we are. So as a people, we are the people of the whole world, right? We're you and we're everyone else. So
all 8 billion of us, not the 500 million who's supposed to survive it.
You know, recently, I'll tell you this, and this might seem too conspiracy to you, but driving around LA, shortly before the election, there was a bunch of advertisements for a new show called The Queen's Gambit. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people say, well, the Queen doesn't have any power, but in reality...
No, it's a chess move.
She's on more money than anybody else in the history of the world.
Of course,
so, she also owns a continent.
She's a quadrillionaire. She owns she owns the eminent domain above the freehold of all our land, of this land, of my land, of all the land in Britain, in Canada, in Australia, and in New Zealand, and in much of the Commonwealth of African nations and Asian nations. And so all of the eminent domain, mineral rights, land ownership is all property of the crown.
Yes.
And so that is the ultimate quadrillions or even quintillions worth of wealth. But interestingly, the Queen's Gambit is a chess move.
Right.
What is the Queen's Gambit?
You sacrifice the Queen.
Can you read it to us?
That's probably...
Yeah, I'm just finding what it is in technical chess.
It's probably Bobby Fischer when he sacrificed the Queen.
Isn't that where you take a pawn and you're owned by the same people?
Yeah. Okay, so what do you do to play it? White threatens to exchange a wing pawn for a center pawn and dominate the center. This is not a true gambit, as black cannot hold the pawn. Blah, blah, blah. The Queen's Gambit is divided into two major categories based on black's response. Queen's Gambit accepted or declined. Okay.
It's an interesting rabbit hole. I'm really kind of saying that just because I think we're in friendly territory to talk about such things. But in reality, there's only the Second American Revolution is a real thing, and we actually defeat them in their entirety, which means... See, after 9/11, the news people started to change. Like, I remember watching 9/11 happen and thinking, okay, so the first couple of days, first couple of weeks, you were hearing a lot of truth about bombs and things. And then slowly over time, the fake narrative was laid down over and over and over. And pretty soon everybody forgot their fourth grade education about physics. And they thought that a plane could hit a building and take it down in broad daylight. And they were very effective propagandists at a level that the Nazis would have been jealous, you know, because I really believe they are Nazis. These people, whoever they are,
as in, what does Nazi mean to you? Because a lot of people use the term Nazi, and they from very different sides of the political spectrum. Like, there's lots of people.
For me, a Nazi represents the so. If we're talking about the divine right of kings, it's sort of moving that right over to corporations.
Okay.
Where a fascist is when a corporation runs a government. That's fascism. And you have to say America's been under fascist rule at least since Kennedy and probably before then.
Okay. That's interesting. So military-industrial complex. The speech by Eisenhower when he handed over the presidency to Kennedy in 1961.
Yeah. See, they're screwed because how the hell do you know all this stuff about our this information has been out there for a while.
The three great political speeches of post-Civil War. Well, maybe Martin Luther King is up there. Actually, no, Martin Luther King is definitely there. So there's like on the podium is Martin Luther King, "I Have a Dream." Then there, in no particular order. Then there's the Kennedy, the Kennedy Secret Society's speech, which we featured on the show before. Remember the Kennedy Secret Society speech when he's talking to the newspapermen at the dinner, and then he turns it from funny into secret oaths and secret conspiracies in the state. We must be a republic of openness, not of secret societies and cabals. And that was before they killed him. So that's number two. And number three is the Our Movement speech by Donald Trump in 2016, which was what won him the presidency, which we saw last night. So I think those are probably so Martin Luther King, "I Have a Dream," post-Second World War. So not all we have to fear is fear itself. There was also the North American Water Power Agreement that Kennedy was putting together with a bunch of scientists, where they were going to make a deal with Canada, and all of the rainwater that was coming through the United States and going out to the ocean, they were going to harness it, and they were going to basically make the Hain Gardens of Babylon all through the West. Yeah.
So
the Great Plains, and so on. Yeah.
But they call it NWAPA 21. I don't know if you want to look into that.
I will. So it's Kennedy North American Water Power Agreement.
Yes.
So,
and that was really threatening to them, because if America had that would have been game over.
So is that hydropower? Like Hoover Dam, next level.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've not come across that. That's really fascinating. That certainly is something we will be looking into.
I'll send you some links to that stuff.
Thank you.
It's very interesting.
Thank you. We've got you on the we've got you on the Fuck Pop group, but I'll add you and we'll come on the New Athens and any time call in, because this is great to get a foreign correspondent on the ground in West Coast, where he's fleeing from. Why have you not gone to Austin with Joe Rogan?
Oh well, I mean, I actually my partner Richard, who I introduced to Martin, he just went to Austin.
Oh yes.
And didn't get a chance to meet with Joe, but there's a lot of connections we're going to make here soon. In reality, we're at the beginning of the golden age of humanity, and it looks not so good right now. But once these suckers are taken out and real people are in position to make decisions based on what's right as opposed to what's good for them, we're going to see a massive explosion of creativity. And the real American system is one on credit and creativity. It's
as
not
Alex Jones said, the answer to 984 is 1776.
It's true. I mean, there's something to that, right? That's
and
great.
I think that makes.
You look great, by the way.
Sorry.
I like your tie. And you
thanks.
Like
I was channeling Roger Stone today.
Yeah, that's good.
I thought I'd channel Roger Stone.
Yeah. That's the one right there. That's it. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize these were his signature. They're my signature glove. They're also his. Funnily enough. Yeah, no. So I thought, shout out to Roger, who is not been pardoned. His sentence was commuted so he could fight it. Because
let's get Roger on your show.
I'd love to get Roger on. I'd love to get Roger on. So what's interesting about Roger is he got caught up in the Flynn, Logan Act scenario, all of that clusterfuck, which has been going on for 4 years. And we've been talking about the Logan Act tonight earlier. I don't know if you caught it, with Joe Biden saying he's the president-elect without having actually won the election or got a concession speech out of his opponent. And so you're breaking the Logan Act, which is what I saw on the Gateway Pundit. We've been reading up on this as it comes out hourly. That it was Joe Biden, it seems, that suggested to the prosecutors
Obama,
that they use the Logan Act specifically against General Flynn, which
he's a master of projection, isn't he? He's projecting everything on everyone else.
You're right. It is projection. It is projection, and that's we were talking about how Freudian this past 5 or 6 years has been, with like the daddy complex of the world versus Trump, and this notion of it's Oedipal, like it's beyond a political dispute. It's about your feelings about authority or fatherhood, and people often have problems with this, and you can see that in the rage, in the derangement, what they call the Trump derangement syndrome, like why this one man has so much attention. It's not based on purely policy. It's not based on, because actually we saw in the Our Movement speech, he's got a very old left progressive platform in terms of rooting out corruption, promoting the worker, bringing industry back to America, make sure that the man on the street has his fair shake. All of that stuff in the Our Movement speech was really kind of old left. And yet, there's not a policy analysis that says that Trump it's aesthetic. It's based on he's crass, or he's not politically correct, or
it's like politeness. Like knives and forks with like aristocrats. If you don't use the right knife and fork at the right time in the meal, then that's a way of catching the strangers out. It's like they're not one of us because they don't know which ones.
Yeah, they're not in on the joke. Right.
Yeah, because Trump has golden spoons.
Right. Yeah.
It's like that's the crass version. Sorry, we just had a stop conversing.
Yeah. So if you're so Trump is they say he's crass and stuff. It's like saying he's using the wrong dessert spoon. Oh, don't talk to him. He obviously doesn't know
it's not based on
secret
policy.
Handshake.
It's not based on policy.
Aaron Hook says, if Trump doesn't get into the White House this January, I'm certain Trump will run again in 2024. And then he says, and his campaign will be based around, they stole the last election, don't let them do it again.
Make America great again.
Well,
make America great again.
All right. Yeah. Concatenating.
It's like this buffalo sentence where it actually all makes grammatical sense.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You've got to make sure the number of buffaloes actually is an adjective, noun, and verb and adverb.
Has the Zoom gone down?
No, I've got it again.
All right.
Because sorry, we're not members of Zoom, so we can only do 40 minutes at a time. Chris to unmute. How do you do that? Ask to unmute. There we go. There we go. Sorry. Hello.
Yeah, welcome back.
We had these 40-minute chunks of Zoom time. We got to re-up the stream. Thanks for sticking around, Ray. So, make America.
Yeah. So I was just saying, we got some comments on the feed. It says, if Trump doesn't get into the White House this January, I'm certain Trump will run again in 2024. And his campaign will be...
that's a bullshit line. That's to get us to give away our attention and to make us weak. I feel like that's just trying to get us to acquiesce. Well, it's not so bad. It's bad.
They've made gains this is what was interesting. They made gains in the Senate and in the Congress while losing the presidency. So Trump, who's the reason why people vote for the Republicans, because they don't like the old style Republicans, they like the Trump movement. the Republicans won in the down ballot races in against Democratic challengers in all the states, all these swing states, which supposedly went in the count to Biden, which hasn't been counted yet. So presumably the people who voted for Biden also voted for Republican senators, governors, and congressmen, which doesn't make any sense because the political climate in America is so polarized now that that nobody would vote for Joe Biden and then a whole load of Republican other lower down candidates in the rest of the elections, because they're electing senators and governors and aldermen of the local council. It goes all the way down, to like who's the chief of the fire department. Yeah, it's totals because they elect everything. They elect judges. They have referenda. Every election has like 20 referenda on it at the end of the document. Like, do you want to legalize weed or acid? I think Oregon really legalized all drugs as a proposition, as one of the referenda in the local state election. The state law is now that you can have any drugs in Oregon, because that was like down the ballot. They have other appointments, both at state level, the state senators, blah, 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 the senators, the congressmen, but also the state congressman and like the city mayor or the local hanging judge. They're all elected in many, many states.
So the word on that is that what happened is that, the way they took over America was not by blatantly taking over the head of the government right away. They took over the local politics, and they have a machine in place for the last 40, 50 years where they're able to steal the local vote, and then the counties add up, and then when it adds up, they take the whole state.
So this is Saul Alinsky and Obama's being a community organizer. So that's the Democrat community organization, which has always been, whether it's Blagojevich, whether it's Tammany Hall, whether it's the Kennedys, the Joseph Kennedy types of
and that was very.
They're all Irish. It's Irish, Irish, and mainly Tammany Hall. Irish gangsterism in the American cities, which is like the opposite of unionization. This is why I want to talk about the Overton Window, because people think the Democrats are left wing. People in Europe think the Democrats are left wing, like socialists, or like or like liberal,
like Tony Blair,
like Tony Blair. Yeah, so either liberal centrists or socialists. But actually, they're far to the Overton Window in America is far to the right of that. So the people that in Europe, in Western Europe, are perceived in America as left wing are actually really right wing in our terms. And so they're not unionists.
More specifically,
they don't want the workers. They don't want the workers of the world to unite. In fact, a lot of the time, they're keeping the workers down in gangster-run city administrations, right?
Yeah, well, you remember this Academy Award that was given to Obama's production company this past year?
Oh, really?
When
like the Nobel Peace Prize, which we were speaking about earlier.
It was called an American Factory. It was called American Factory, and the people who won it got on stage. They were bald, and they said, "Workers of the world, unite." They are full-on Marxists. That's what they are.
But Trump also wants
anything else.
Trump also wants the workers of the world to unite. No, he fucking does. He does.
Well, Trump wants the people to have the power. Is what I understand.
Yeah. So, but Trump's notion for the workers of the world, and you can see it best, I think, in Steve Bannon, when Steve Bannon talks about the Lao Beijing, the old 100 names, and he says that the great revolution of the 21st century, the choice of the 21st century path, is going to be: do the workers of China, the who remember China before 1949 in their oral history and in their memory of like the long history of China, will these old Lao Beijing, the old 100 names like Smith and Baker in Britain, will these people rise up against the Communist Party of China, which is a tiny minority of aristocrats ruling over in the name of communism, but it's actually as processed fascism in the name of this 1.5 billion people who could stamp out the Chinese Communist Party in an instant, and whether that Great Firewall of China is actually going to hold that hold those people back and say, look, you've got to be farmed, you've got to be be on animal farm.
Xi Jinping is voted in by 11 people.
Yes,
not 1 billion.
Yes, this is all straight out of the Bannon. This is straight out of the Bannon War Room pandemic playbook. He's been going on about this for years.
11 party members.
Yeah, the Xi Jinping is the chairman of a board of 10 men, and that's his electorate. And he's the Committee on Public Safety, what Robespierre was the head of when he was guillotining everybody. It's exactly that, as we were discussing last night. And
don't you think he's more of the CEO that's reporting to Deutsche Bank and Lloyd's of London and all of the bankers that have been running things since Egypt and Atlantis?
Well, I think as far as my analysis goes, the best that my analysis goes, that it all starts in 1971 when Nixon supposedly opened up China. Actually, Nixon was a passenger, and Kissinger and Mao met in China to decide the fate of the world and created a neoliberal economic system which lasted from 1971 until 2020. And so this is the long cycle that we're on. Is actually the Kissinger Mao axis. I don't know if you'd agree with that. That taking the industry out of America to China and then socializing the profits out of the Chinese Communist Party back to Western corporations based out of China, as you can see what we just found about Hunter Biden, and Foxconn with Apple and so on.
What do you guys think about Hunter Biden's thing with Ukraine?
Oh yeah, Dan is. I don't know if you've seen that Trey, that Dan's making a portrait
in the background.
I think maybe can you see the YouTube?
I can't. Oh, hold on. Maybe I can.
So Dan is our resident artist this evening, court painter, and he's doing a portrait in pretty much life size in oil of Oliver. Dan is a political. He's got. He'll be back in a minute. Dan is a political analyst. He's a graduate of the LSE, and he's both Ukrainian and he's from Odessa and Little Odessa in Brooklyn. So Dan's it's Darren Aronofsky territory. And so Dan, what do you make
I'm not from Odessa. She's from Ukraine.
What do you?
You're from Odessa.
You're from Odessa.
Kagula.
Oh, good. No, seriously, are you?
No,
we lost your feed. Anyway,
hold on. I can't see the YouTube at the same
time. Oh, I see.
So did you say your mom is from Odessa?
So no, my son's mom and my son is part Ukrainian, and my son's mom and her mom are from Ukraine.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. I wrote a song in Russian.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. We didn't hear your music earlier. I don't know if we can do justice to it because we're not actually piping. We're not piping this feed through the HDMI. We're putting it in a speaker here, so I don't know if it'll get on the feed. We'll get a proper file next time, and we'll play some of your music. It'd be wonderful to do that and have your analysis.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah,
we will definitely do this again. Oliver's back. Trey wanted to see you next to your homunculus. So if you go to the YouTube, you can see Oliver with his homunculus picture.
Will it be there with us after we get off?
Yeah, just switch over now, and you have a look. He's there. There we go.
Okay, hold on. So, let me see.
You can see. There's the man.
I see Jay.
Dorian Gray.
I see Jay on the screen. Let me.
Jay is frozen on the screen from earlier.
Wow, that's a hell of a painting of Jay. That's incredible.
Oh wait, that's not what's on the feed, is it?
It's just
the world has turned upside down. Box up there.
And then it's not. And then shit. Maybe you can't see it. Anyway, so I need a drink.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a good show.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for coming.
We've been going for 2 hours 40 minutes.
Perfect. Thanks so much for coming. And we will catch you again. Hey, thanks so much for coming. We'll catch you again. Let's talk, and then we'll find another time that's good for you. Because having the word on the ground in West Coast, we haven't got a correspondent West Coast yet. You're our first correspondent West Coast. So that's
this is exciting. I'm looking forward to helping out any way I can.
Fantastic. We'll have a long discussion after this. So thank you so much, Prey, for coming. And I think we're gonna take a rain check, because next we'll have to do Cummings and so on, because a lot happened today in British politics. We need to go and recruit Cummings into Dominic Cummings, the architect of Brexit, into Smart Cities New Athens structure. Now he's free. He's emancipated himself from number 10 and got outside of the.
Well, Lorenzo. So next time I'll be on the street and I'll be interviewing people for you. How about that?
Fantastic. That's wonderful. That's perfect.
Okay.
We'll work out the tech of that now, so it's already, the stream is all ready for you.
Is Mark going to make his way here?
Say again? Oh, I haven't heard from him this evening. I heard from him like 6 p.m. or so, but I didn't catch up with him later. Well, let's get in touch on the group, and we'll hopefully get us all together on another stream.
Here's a goodbye song for Daniel in honor of the Ukraine.
Oh, fantastic!
Which it turns out is the most important place on planet Earth now.
Thanks to Baruzma.
All right.
Прощай, мой друг. Закончила наша весна, наша весна. Я пью за тебя, закончила наша весна, наша весна. Ciao.
Bravo. Thanks, Craig. And thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. We've got Oliver with his now emerging homunculus, thanks to Dan. Dan's very photoreal portraits in oil, in up to and including life size, even greater than life size. Oliver is larger than life as ever. Are available at the New Athens, and we are starting the New Athens. We're restarting the New Athens School of Art with Freud Art, with Art Chain, and that we're all coming out next week. We'll be announcing a whole load of new art structures with all the artists in our merry band of courtiers, from Dan Kalupski, Philip Firsov, who's actually currently in Venice, Ed Mirza. We'll have a cultural. We also have Pray back, because your song was so, even, I mean, I don't know if it communicated to the feed because we got this boom mic, but that was so crisp in a Zoom. I mean, I'd love to hear. We listen to this afterwards. Your recording, and we'll find a way to play more, because like we've got so many musicians and so on. It'd be wonderful to get together.
Well, I think I'm very impressed with. I can just say I'm extremely impressed with the information that you guys have. You're well on your way to cracking the code. And next time I'll be in Venice, or I'll be around LA, and we'll do it from the street. I have a lot of experience talking with people on the street, and we can make this worldwide.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, we will see you very soon, and we will see you very soon. Here, this is the New Athens. From me, Lorenzo Mefsut. Thank you for coming. Please share, like, subscribe, and join us on the Facebook group and in our Telegram, WhatsApp, and we will get in contact, and we will be discussing how to bring about the New Athens smart city states and a blockchain revolution for a free future of humanity. We'll have Rose McGowan on the show, I think maybe next week, discussing Rosecoin, our new cryptocurrency to value human freedom. and she's coming. She'll be zooming in from Mexico. That'll be really
You've
exciting.
got Rose coming?
Yeah. She's a great friend, and we're doing Rosecoin, like cryptocurrency.
Oh, great!
Value
So
and
she's
freedom.
awesome. She's right here. You know, she's in Laurel Canyon.
She's in Mexico.
Oh, she lives in Laurel Canyon though. I've seen her at the country store.
Oh, okay. No, she's now in Mexico.
Okay.
So she keeps having these hurricanes coming through, so we can't get her on the stream. But we're building up this Rosecoin as a
amazing. God bless.
Positive outworking of the Me Too movement towards like getting more people into valuing their time, energy, and freedom in a crypto format on the blockchain. So that's the new tech project. We've got new art. Really look forward to seeing it. We've got new studios. Hey, how are you? And that's it from all of us. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Well, Lorenzo, thank you for having us. This is your man on the street, Prey Harper from Los Angeles, California, saying one world, one love to all of you.
Love you too. We love you. 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 We love you.